You're broke because you're soft. You're stuck because you hesitate while you're thinking another man is taking your spot right now. Success doesn't wait for permission. It rewards the ruthless. So either you rise or you rot. You've been lied to your entire life. Lied to by teachers, parents, society. Everybody told you the same garbage. Be patient, work hard, and someday it'll all come together. What a joke. The truth is, success is not given to the patient. It's stolen by the aggressive. The man who gets what he wants in this world is the one who's willing to take it while the rest are still asking for permission. You're not stuck because you're unlucky. You're stuck because you've bought into a system that wants you compliant, passive, and obedient. They trained you to fear failure, to avoid risk, to be modest about your dreams. And while you politely wait your turn, some savage is already at the top living the life you dream about because he didn't wait. He attacked. The difference between the man who makes $500 0 cents a month and the one who makes $50 0 cents a day is not intelligence, luck, or education. It's urgency. One man wakes up thinking someday. The other wakes up thinking right now. One man hesitates, the other strikes. You want success, then you have to stop moving like you've got time, because you don't. Every second you waste is a second closer to death. That's the uncomfortable truth nobody tells you. There is no perfect moment. There is no right time. There is only now. And every time you choose comfort over commitment, you forfeit a piece of your destiny. You either pay the price of discipline today or the price of regret forever. That's it. That's the whole equation. Here's the thing no one understands about ambition. It's supposed to hurt. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable. That's how you know you're growing. People say it's hard. Of course it's hard. It's meant to be hard. That's the barrier that filters out the weak. Most people run at the first sign of resistance because they think difficulty means it's not meant for them. No, difficulty is the initiation ritual to the elite. The gym is supposed to burn. The grind is supposed to be brutal. The late nights, the isolation, the sacrifice. It's all part of the process. It's the price of greatness. You either pay it in full or settle for scraps while pretending you tried. The truth is, every man feels the fire once in his life, that moment when the dream grabs him by the throat and whispers, "This is your path." Most ignore it. They drown it in distractions, dull it with entertainment, numb it with excuses. But a few men look that fire in the eyes and walk straight into it. They stop chasing motivation and start chasing domination. They stop caring about opinions and start chasing results. They flip the switch. And once that switch is flipped, once you decide you'd rather die fighting than live submitting, life opens doors that were invisible before. Because the universe rewards movement, action, relentlessness. You don't rise by being nice. You rise by being intentional, strategic, unapologetically focused. You want freedom? Then start behaving like a man who deserves it. The version of you that has everything you want, he already exists. But he lives on the other side of pain. You have to become him. You don't find him by accident. You forge him with blood, sweat, sacrifice. Every day you sleep in, he gets further away. Every time you skip that extra rep, scroll instead of study, give in instead of grind, you kill a version of yourself that could have been a king. And if that doesn't haunt you, you're not hungry enough. But don't think this is some cruel system designed to break you. It's not. This game is fair. It's just not easy. The laws of success are written in stone. Discipline equals results, focus fuels momentum, obsession builds empires. Anyone can win, but most won't. Not because they can't, but because they refuse to suffer for it. And here's the paradox. Your suffering is your advantage. The pain is proof you're in the right arena. When it hurts, when it gets hard, when you're doubting yourself but you move forward anyway, that's the zone where legends are born. That's where the boys are separated from the men. You want it easy? Stay broke. You want comfort? Stay average. You want power? Then step into the fire and earn it like a warrior. And even when you think you've done enough, do more. Not because someone's watching, not for a pat on the back, but because this is war and you're not here to survive, you're here to dominate. Because once you realize that no one is coming to save you and that success isn't about what you deserve, but what you demand, everything changes. You'll stop apologizing for your ambition. You'll stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You'll stop settling for a life that insults your potential, and instead you'll take that potential and weaponize it. Turn it into a machine, something unstoppable, something undeniable. Yes, it's going to be hard, but hard is the point. The world doesn't hand crowns to men who dabble. It crowns the man who shows up when it hurts, when it's lonely, when it's scary. That's you now, not someday, not when you're ready now. You got one shot at this life. And it's not meant to be average, it's meant to be legendary. So burn the plan B, kill the excuses, get up and become everything you were too afraid to chase yesterday. because there's a throne out there and it's empty. And if you don't claim it, someone weaker will. I remember sitting in a cold apartment years ago, staring at my bank account with less than $100, 0 cents in it. My phone was cracked, I was eating noodles 3 times a day, and my so-called friends were out drinking, laughing, pretending they had all the time in the world. I didn't feel broke. I felt insulted. I knew I was capable of more, but I was drowning in excuses. I kept thinking, why isn't life working out for me? But one night I stopped asking that pathetic question. I stopped blaming the system, my past, the economy. And I asked myself the one question that changed everything. What if the only reason you're not successful is because you haven't earned it yet? That line shattered every excuse I ever made. I sat in that silence for hours. No music, no scrolling, just me and the mirror. And in that moment, I promised myself I would never feel powerless again. That was the night I realized ambition isn't some mystical feeling you wait for. Ambition is a decision, a declaration, a commitment you make when you're sick of your own lies. Most people say they want to win, but they move like victims. They wait for motivation, wait for the right time, wait for someone to save them. I didn't wait. I built momentum with nothing. I woke up angry, hungry, focused. I worked 18 hours a day, not because I wanted to, but because I had to. Because I refused to stay at the bottom. Because I knew what I wanted didn't live in comfort. It lived on the other side of sacrifice. People say, but what if I fail? And I say, you already are failing. Quietly, slowly, acceptably. I'd rather fail chasing glory than succeed at being average. Success demands obsession, and obsession doesn't apologize. You don't stumble into greatness, you engineer it. Piece by painful piece. I didn't start with talent, fame, or resources. I started with rage. Not blind anger, but controlled, disciplined rage. The kind that burns clean. The kind that fuels movement. Every rejection fueled me. Every fake friend fueled me. Every door slammed in my face turned into another rep, another hustle, another strategy. I learned to smile through, to hunt in silence. Because success isn't about who talks loudest. It's about who moves sharpest. And I moved with surgical intent. While they slept, I studied. While they celebrated weekends, I built systems. And slowly, piece by piece, the world started to shift, not because it wanted to, but because I forced it to. People look at my life now and say, you're lucky. No. Luck didn't do this. Discipline did. Sacrifice did. Relentlessness did. I trained myself to be a weapon. I taught myself to outwork, outthink, outlast. I didn't beg the universe, I bent it. I didn't just want success, I expected it. And that's what broke me out of the cage. That shift in mindset, that ruthless internal decision to stop waiting and start becoming. It's not about what you wish for, it's about what you're willing to bleed for. And let me tell you, most people aren't willing to bleed. They'll cry, they'll complain, they'll scroll for inspiration, but they won't bleed. I bled, I starved, I sacrificed. And that's why I win. But here's the twist. Even in the pain, even in the struggle, there was beauty. Because ambition gives you purpose, and purpose is the most powerful painkiller there is. I remember being so tired I couldn't see straight, but I was smiling. Because I wasn't lost anymore, I wasn't drifting. I was chasing something real, something worthy. Every drop of sweat had meaning. Every loss became a lesson. Every win, no matter how small, reminded me I'm building a life they said I'd never have. And that's the fuel that never runs out. You see, ambition is lonely at first. It feels like you're moving through darkness with no map, no applause, no safety net. But if you keep walking, if you refuse to quit, eventually you find light, you find rhythm, you find power. And when that power kicks in, when you go from wishing to building, from dreaming to executing, your whole life begins to reshape. People who used to ignore you start asking how you did it. Friends who mocked you start watching in silence. And most importantly, you stop doubting yourself because the proof is in your results. You don't have to scream your worth anymore. Your reality screams it for you. So don't tell me you want it, show me. I've lived the trenches. I've eaten the dirt. I've stood at the edge of giving up and took one more step. That step is where everything changes. That's where you separate the talkers from the takers, the sheep from the wolves, the men from the memories. I've seen what's on the other side of suffering, and it's beautiful, it's powerful, it's yours if you dare take it. So stop waiting, start building, and never let anyone tell you that your ambition is too much. Because your ambition is the most honest part of you. Feed it, trust it, live it. And one day, they won't call you crazy, they'll call you unstoppable. Most people are sleepwalking through life. They pretend they've got time, as if the clock isn't ticking like a bomb in the background of their existence. Every second that passes is a second you'll never get back. But they treat it like it's infinite. They waste time scrolling, binging, numbing. They distract themselves to avoid the one truth that eats at them every night. They're not where they want to be, and they know it. They know they've got potential, but they fear the sacrifice required to reach it. And that fear, that silent dread of being average, is the weight they carry every day but never speak about. You feel it in your chest. You feel it when you wake up late. You feel it when you lie in bed thinking about the things you could have done but didn't. That's the cost of hesitation. Your future is being stolen in small moments of comfort. That's the trap. That's how mediocrity wins. Quietly. It doesn't scream in your face. It whispers, relax, do it later. You deserve a break. And then weeks turn to months, months to years. Before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle you swore you'd escape, the job you hate, the body you resent, the dreams you buried. It's not bad luck. It's not fate. It's the slow decay of ambition. And you let it happen because no one told you the truth. Discipline isn't about being motivated. It's about being sick of your own excuses. It's about choosing discomfort today so you don't wake up to regret tomorrow. You think you have options, but you don't. Success doesn't wait. It doesn't pause while you figure it out. It rewards the obsessed. The ones who burn their bridges so they can't retreat. The ones who understand that someday is a lie, a fantasy, a drug for the weak. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. The window doesn't stay open. There will come a day when the opportunity is gone and no amount of begging, praying, or hoping will bring it back. That's why you move now. That's why you act like your life depends on it, because it does. Let me tell you something painful but necessary. You are running out of time. Your parents are aging. Your body is aging. The people around you are changing. The world is moving, and it does not care about your excuses. Every day you delay is the day your competition trains harder, learns more, earns more, builds more. While you're overthinking, they're executing. While you're planning, they're profiting. And when they win, you'll look around bitter, envious, resentful, not because they were lucky, but because you were lazy. The truth? There's a war going on, a war for your attention, your energy, your potential. And if you don't fight for your ambition, someone else will use you to build theirs. But here's the hope, the fire in the ashes. You can change it. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. That's what separates winners from the rest. They move when they're scared. They take action even when it's unclear. They don't wait for the perfect plan. They become the weapon. And if you decide, really decide, to become the man you're meant to be, the world will bend. Not easily, not instantly, but relentlessly, because life will always respond to force. The universe respects effort. It respects obsession. It respects those who refuse to settle. And you'll know when it clicks. You'll feel it in your bones. You'll wake up hungry. You'll see failure as fuel. You won't care who doubts you. You won't need validation, because your life will become your proof. Your habits will be your identity. And people will feel your energy before you speak a word. You'll go from invisible to undeniable, not because the world changed, but because you did. Fear will keep you broke. Comfort will keep you forgotten. But action, ruthless, consistent, violent action, that will make you a name they'll never ignore. You don't need more advice. You need to attack. You need to turn your pain into pressure, your regret into rage, your fear into fire. That's how it starts. That's how legends are born. So stop lying to yourself. Stop pretending this version of you is all you've got. Deep down, you know you're capable of more. You know you were built for something greater, but knowing means nothing without execution. Talent is worthless if it's not weaponized. And your ambition, it's not a burden, it's your birthright. So protect it, feed it. Let it consume the excuses until all that's left is a man too focused to fail, too stubborn to quit, too dangerous to ignore. There's a moment in every man's life where he has to ask himself, am I living up to the war that's burning in my chest? Or am I just pretending? Because pretending is comfortable. Pretending gets applause from average people. Pretending lets you sleep at night, but it robs you of the life that could have been yours. Success isn't for the gifted, it's for the obsessed. An obsession doesn't come from being happy all the time, it comes from being hungry all the time. You wake up with something to prove. You train with something to kill. You walk into every room with energy that makes people pay attention before you speak. That's what ambition looks like when it's not watered down by fear. It's not about motivation, it's about identity. You don't want to win, you're built to. Success doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't knock politely. It kicks down the door and demands you to rise. There are no participation trophies in real life. You either conquer or you get conquered. You either dominate the day or the day drags you like a slave. And if you're tired of being broke, tired of being weak, tired of pretending that you're okay with average, you have to wake up and become the monster you've been suppressing. Because the world will not slow down for your comfort. It won't give you a pass because you had a rough childhood or you're trying. Trying isn't enough. Either you win or you rot in the middle, watching others live the life you wish you had the balls to chase. You see that car you want, the mansion in your dreams, the respect you crave? It's not in your vision board, it's not in your affirmations. It's in the war zone of daily sacrifice. Every rep in the gym, every early morning when no one's watching. Every move you make when your body screams no, but your mind says yes. That's where winners are made. That's where ambition becomes reality. You have to earn it with blood, consistency, and warlike discipline. Not for a week, not when it's trendy, but until your name becomes a symbol for everything they said you'd never become. Comfort is the enemy. It seduces you with softness, then kills you in silence. You weren't made to live a soft life. You weren't born to be tamed. Deep down, you know it. You can feel the beast pacing behind your ribs, growling every time you ignore your potential. You numb it with distractions, drown it in laziness, but it's still there, waiting for the moment you finally unleash it. The problem is, most men never do. They die with regret in their bones because they chose the couch over the climb. But not you. Not if you choose differently. Not if you burn the damn excuses and step into the identity that scares you, because that is where the transformation begins. Not in the comfort zone, but in the chaos where winners are sculpted. You want success? You want power? Then understand this. No one's coming to save you. No one's handing you anything. You have to grab the world by the throat and take what's yours. You become undeniable by outworking, outthinking, and outlasting everyone around you. People will doubt you. Good, let them. Let their doubt be the gasoline. Let their opinions be the soundtrack while you build an empire that silences them forever. You don't need approval. You need obsession. You need to wake up every day with the kind of clarity that makes people question your sanity. You don't become a king by asking for the throne. You become a king by burning the old system to the ground and building your own. And when the pain hits, good. That's how you know you're alive. That's how you know you're becoming. Pain is not your enemy, it's the tax you pay to escape the cage you were born in. Most people run from it. The ambitious man embraces it. He welcomes it, bleeds through it because he knows what's on the other side. The version of you that gets everything you ever dreamed of is hiding behind discomfort, behind discipline, behind the decision to not give up when it gets brutal. You break through or you break down. There is no middle ground. That's what separates men who talk about greatness and men who live it. So if you're reading this with your heart pounding and your mind racing, good. That's the signal. That's your future calling. It's not a whisper anymore. It's a scream. And if you ignore it, again, if you go back to scrolling, sleeping, making excuses, you're betraying the man you were meant to become. The man who doesn't just chase success, he embodies it. The man who walks into rooms and changes the temperature. The man who doesn't chase women, money, or fame, he attracts it because his aura is forged in relentless action and carved from violent ambition. Don't just be motivated, be reborn. Let this be the page where everything changed. Let this be the moment the weak version of you died and the unstoppable version took his place. Now it's time to decide. You've heard the truth. You felt the weight of your own wasted potential. You've tasted the spark of what you could be if you stopped lying to yourself. So what now? Are you going to stand there and wait for life to get better? Or are you finally going to grip it by the neck and bend reality to your will? Because no one's coming to fix it. Not your parents, not your friends, not God, it's you. It has always been you. You've just been too distracted, too lazy, or too scared to admit that the only thing standing between the life you want and the one you're tolerating is the version of you that refuses to go all in. The clock is ticking. That's not a metaphor, that's time. Your time. Evaporating while you scroll, while you delay, while you pretend you're thinking things through. Meanwhile, there are people out there building empires of pain you've never even felt. There are men stacking cash, stacking wins, stacking legacy, while you're still waiting for the perfect moment to start. Here's the truth. There is no perfect moment. The man who waits for everything to feel right never builds anything worth remembering. You start now with what you have, with who you are, and you evolve through war, not comfort. You sharpen yourself through action, not overthinking. The world doesn't care about your struggle unless you win. Once you win, everyone will pretend they believed in you. So stop wasting breath trying to explain your vision. Execute. Let them see it in your results. Let them choke on your silence. Let them whisper your name when they see how far you've come, knowing they stayed behind. That's what ambition does. It burns quietly in your chest until the world can't ignore the fire anymore. It doesn't seek applause, it seeks domination. You don't chase approval, you chase conquest. You don't rise by being accepted, you rise by being undeniable. Every man must choose. Do I live average and die forgotten? Or do I sacrifice now and build a life worth remembering? If you're waiting for a sign, this is it. If you're waiting for someone to hand you permission to level up, this is it. If you're hoping someone will believe in you enough for you to believe in yourself, stop. It doesn't work that way. The belief must come first, before the success, or the attention, before the results. You must move like a winner before anyone even knows your name. You must carry yourself like a king before the throne is even in sight. That's what ambition does. It fuels you when nothing else will. You're not tired, you're just uninspired. And that's a choice. You can live in doubt or you can drown it in action. You can sit with fear or you can fight it into silence. The difference between losers and legends isn't talent, it's aggression, relentless forward motion, refusing to accept mediocrity even when it's comfortable. Because the second you accept average, you forfeit everything extraordinary. That's not being harsh, that's being honest, and deep down you know it. This isn't just about money. This is about who you become, about building a man you respect in the mirror, a man you don't have to lie to, a man who walks into the world like he owns it, not because someone told him he could, but because he earned it, through scars, through sweat, through every brutal hour that no one else wanted to endure. That's how kings are built. That's how legacies are forged, in silence, in discipline, in nights alone when you chose work over women, focus over fun, hunger over comfort. So this is the moment, the one you'll remember a year from now, when everything changes or doesn't. When you're sitting in that penthouse with the view you used to dream of, or still broke, still lost, still waiting, because it all comes down to this. Did you choose to dominate or did you fold under pressure? There is no second place in the game of life. There's winning, and there's wondering what would have happened if you had the balls to commit. I don't care where you're starting from. I don't care how hard your past was. What matters now is this. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to suffer for the man you're meant to become? Are you willing to bleed for your last name? Are you ready to go so hard that average people think you've lost your mind? Because that's what it takes. That's the price of greatness. It costs your old life. It costs your excuses. It costs your comfort. But what you get in return? Freedom, power, respect, legacy. And if you're ready, don't just nod. Don't just feel hyped for 10 minutes and go back to being soft. Prove it. Prove it to yourself. Get off the couch, shut off the noise, lock in, move like your life depends on it, because it does. Move like you're racing against death, because you are. The future doesn't belong to the man who hesitates. It belongs to the one who moves with fire and refuses to stop. Be that man, become him, build him. And when they ask how you did it, smile and tell them, I didn't wait, I attacked. Right now, you're sitting there frustrated. You're looking at your life, your situation, and you're asking, why is it happening for me? Why am I still struggling? Where is my success? You work, you grind, you put in the effort, and yet nothing seems to be moving the way you want it to. And because of that, you're doubting everything. You're doubting yourself, doubting your abilities, and worst of all, you're doubting God's plan for you. But let me tell you something that most people will never understand. God knows exactly what he's doing. You don't have what you want right now because you're not ready for it. I know that's hard to hear. Your ego doesn't want to accept it. You want to believe that you're already built for success, that you deserve it right now today, but that's the difference between winners and losers. Winners understand that the process is the test. The struggle isn't a punishment, it's preparation. Think about it. You ever see someone win the lottery and go broke in a year? You ever watch these young guys make quick money in crypto, flex for a few months, and then disappear? You know why that happens? Because they got success before they were ready. They never built the character, the discipline, or the resilience to keep it. Easy come, easy go. And God is never going to put you in a position where your blessings become your curse. That's why you're still struggling. That's why you haven't hit your big break yet, because if he gave it to you now, you'd fumble it. Look at your life. If you suddenly had millions in your account today, would you even know what to do with it? You'd think you would, but you wouldn't. You'd make the wrong moves, trust the wrong people, blow money on nonsense, and within a year, you'd be worse off than before. That's why God is making you wait. That's why He's putting you through trials, because you need to be strong enough to handle what's coming. You ever wonder why great warriors go through the harshest training, why soldiers are put through hell before they're sent into battle? Because without the suffering, they wouldn't be ready. Without the discipline, they'd break under pressure. You're in training right now, and every setback, every challenge, every moment where you feel stuck, it's part of God's way of sharpening you into the man you need to be. But most people, they fail the test. They give up too soon. They start questioning God. They start whining, why me? Instead of embracing the process, they reject it. And that's why they stay stuck. That's why most people never achieve greatness, because they don't have the patience or the faith to trust God's timing. You need to wake up and realize something. If you don't have it yet, it's because you're still being built. And if you quit now, you don't just lose out on the blessing, you lose out on the transformation that comes with it. Because success isn't just about having money, power, or status. It's about becoming the person who can handle those things. The process is brutal. It will break you down. It will strip away your weaknesses. It will force you to face every insecurity, every flaw, every limitation you have. And that's exactly why you need it. Because when you come out on the other side, you won't just have success, you'll be unshakable. But only if you don't give up. See, most people want results now. They want shortcuts. They want to wake up one day and have everything fall into place without the years of work, the discipline, the sacrifice. But that's not how God works. He doesn't hand out blessings to people who aren't ready. He doesn't reward impatience. He rewards those who trust the process, put in the work, and prove they can handle the weight of success. Ask yourself, do you really think you're ready for everything you're asking for? Do you really believe you've done everything necessary to hold on to what you want? Or are you just chasing the fantasy of success without doing the real work required to sustain it? Because here's the truth, the waiting is part of the plan. The delay isn't a denial, it's a setup. God isn't holding you back, He's preparing you. He's testing your patience, your faith, your resilience. He's seeing if you're the kind of person who quits when things get tough, or if you're the kind of person who keeps going even when everything seems stacked against you. And that's the moment where most people fail. They hit a few obstacles and suddenly they think the dream is dead. They convince themselves that success just isn't meant for them, and they stop. They give up right before the breakthrough, right before everything was about to click, right before God was about to open the door. That's the devil playing tricks on you. That's fear creeping in, whispering in your ear, telling you to settle, telling you to give up. And most people, they listen. They let doubt win, but not you, not this time. You're going to trust the process. You're going to stay the course. You're going to have faith that every hardship, every setback, every single painful moment is leading you exactly where you're meant to be. Because if you can't handle the struggle, you don't deserve the success. If you can't embrace the process, you'll never reach the destination. And let me tell you, when you finally get there, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. You'll look back at all the frustration, all the challenges, all the moments where you felt stuck, and you'll realize God knew what He was doing all along. The only question is, are you strong enough to trust Him? Because the moment you do, the moment you fully commit, the moment you stop questioning and start embracing the process, everything changes. You ever stop and think, what if everything you're going through right now is exactly what you need? What if the struggle, the delay, the frustration, it's all part of God's plan to make you unstoppable? But instead of trusting Him, instead of embracing the challenge, you're sitting there complaining, doubting, asking, why me? Let me tell you something. The moment you start questioning the process, you start losing. You start letting fear creep in. You start thinking that maybe success isn't meant for you, that maybe you're wasting your time. But that's the biggest lie of all. God isn't punishing you, He's training you. He's testing your patience, your resilience, your discipline. Because let me tell you, weak men don't win. Weak men crumble the moment life gets hard. Weak men take shortcuts, look for easy money, try to skip the process, and guess what happens? They fall, they get exposed, they get humbled. You see it all the time. Some guy gets lucky, makes a bit of fast money, and within a year he's broke. He thought he was ready. He thought he had it all figured out, but God showed him real quick, you don't get to keep what you haven't earned. And that's why the process exists. That's why God is making you struggle, because when your time comes, He doesn't want you to just touch success. He wants you to keep it. But most people, they don't have the patience. They want the reward without the work. They want the victory without the fight. But let me tell you something. There's no shortcut to greatness. If you try to force success before it's time, it'll break you, because success isn't just about making it. It's about being strong enough to sustain it. That's why you're still struggling. That's why things aren't happening as fast as you want. Not because you're being denied, but because you're being prepared. And if you quit now, if you break down and give up just because it's taking longer than you expected, you don't deserve it in the first place. Listen to me. The wait is a blessing. The obstacles are a gift. Because in every moment of struggle, you are being shaped into someone greater. God is watching to see if you're truly ready. Are you still going to put in the work when no one is watching? Are you still going to stay disciplined when nothing seems to be moving? Are you still going to believe in yourself when everything in your life tells you to quit? That's the test. That's what separates the strong from the weak, the ones who trust the process from the ones who fold under pressure. And let me tell you, the moment you decide to stop doubting, to stop resisting, and to start embracing the struggle, everything shifts. Because the struggle is where champions are built. Think about a warrior going into battle. He doesn't just pick up a sword and expect to win. He trains. He sharpens his mind, strengthens his body, learns how to fight. He goes through the pain, the discipline, the exhaustion. He bleeds in training so he doesn't die in battle. That's you right now. This process you're going through, it's your training ground. Every failure, every setback, every time you feel like giving up, it's all preparing you for the moment when God finally says, now you're ready. But if you quit now, if you walk away from the process, guess what? You forfeit the blessing. You abandon the very thing that was meant to build you into the man you need to be. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy who gets to the end of his life, looks back and realizes he gave up too soon. That he let his doubts, his impatience, and his fear rob him of the future God had waiting for him. That's the worst regret of all. Knowing that you had the chance, that the door was right there, but you were too weak to walk through it. But you're not going to let that happen. You're going to wake up tomorrow and trust the process. You're going to stop questioning God's timing and start working like a man who knows that success is inevitable. Because that's what faith is. It's knowing without a doubt that everything you're doing right now is leading you exactly where you need to be. And when you finally get there, when everything clicks, when you look back at every struggle and realize that it all happened for a reason, you'll understand why the wait was necessary. Because success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become along the way. So let me ask you, are you ready to trust God's plan? Or are you going to let doubt rob you of your future? Because the ones who make it, they don't question the process. They embrace it. You ever wonder why God doesn't just hand you success the moment you ask for it? Why he makes you fight for it? Why every step forward feels like you're being tested, pushed, and broken down? Let me tell you why. Because God doesn't want you weak. He doesn't want you soft. He doesn't want you to get to the top only to crumble the moment pressure hits. See, weak men think success is just about having money, fame, power, but strong men, they understand that success is about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of man who can carry the weight of responsibility, leadership, and discipline without folding. And the only way to become that man? The process. The process is what separates the winners from the losers. The process is what weeds out the men who say they want it but aren't willing to bleed for it. Because here's the truth. You can't fake greatness. You either put in the work and become the man who deserves success, or you stay in the same cycle of mediocrity for the rest of your life. And let me tell you something about God. He doesn't make mistakes. If he hasn't given it to you yet, there's a reason. You still have lessons to learn. You still have weaknesses to kill off. You still have discipline to build. But most of you don't want to hear that. You don't want to be told that you're the problem. You'd rather blame bad luck, your circumstances, or some nonsense excuse to make yourself feel better. But guess what? None of that changes reality. Reality is this: if you are not winning, it's because you are not ready to win. And instead of complaining about that, you should be grateful. Because when God makes you wait, when he makes you struggle, it's because he's making you strong enough to never lose again. But most people don't see it that way. They cry about how unfair life is. They say, why is this happening to me? Instead of asking, what is God trying to teach me? And that's the shift in mindset that changes everything. Because the process isn't just about making money. It isn't just about success. It's about earning wisdom. And wisdom only comes from experience, from struggle, from walking through the fire and coming out stronger on the other side. You ever notice that people who got everything handed to them usually end up broken? Athletes who go broke, celebrities who overdose, millionaires who lose it all because they never learned how to handle what they had. You think that's a coincidence? It's not, because they never went through the process. They skipped the struggle. And because they skipped it, They never learn how to hold on to what they had. That's what God is protecting you from. He's making sure that when success comes, it stays. He's making sure that when he finally blesses you, you don't fumble it. And if that means he has to keep you in the struggle a little longer, then so be it. Because God is more interested in your strength than your comfort. And this is where most people fail. This is where most people quit, not because they're incapable, not because they don't have potential, but because they refuse to trust the process. Let me tell you something. Most people lose right before they were about to win. You know how many times I've seen guys quit at the last second? 1 month away from success, 1 year away from their breakthrough. But because it didn't come fast enough, they folded, they lost faith, and they walked away from the very thing God was about to give them. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy who lets doubt steal his future. Don't be the guy who lets frustration make him walk away from something that was meant to be his. Because let me tell you something. God doesn't promise an easy road, but he does promise that if you keep going, you will win. The only question is, are you willing to keep going when it feels like nothing is working? Are you willing to stay disciplined when no one is watching? Are you willing to trust that every struggle, every setback, every single painful moment is part of God's way of shaping you into a man who can handle success when it arrives? Because if you refuse to break, if you refuse to let the process scare you away, then you are and that's exactly what God wants you to be. Now, what's it going to be? Are you going to be another guy who quits, who makes excuses, who lets his emotions control him? Or are you going to rise above the doubt, trust the process, and walk into the future that God has already prepared for you? Because the choice is yours. This is where the weak fall, where the strong rise, and where God sees what you're really made of. Right now, in this very moment, you have a decision to make. Are you going to trust God's plan for you? Or are you going to let fear, doubt, and impatience steal your future? Because here's the truth. God doesn't need you to understand the process. He needs you to trust it. You think you're waiting too long? You think the struggle is unfair? You think the pain is unnecessary? God knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what you need to go through to become the person you're meant to be. He knows what lessons you need to learn. He knows what weaknesses need to be burned out of you, and he knows when the exact right moment is to give you what you've been praying for. The only thing stopping you from winning is you, your doubt, your impatience, your inability to see that the delay is a blessing, not a punishment. Every second you spend wondering, why isn't this happening yet, is a second you could be spending becoming the man who is ready for it. Think about this. If success was handed to you right now, would you truly be able to handle it? Could you carry the weight of what comes with it, the responsibility, the discipline, the constant pressure? Most people think they're ready, but they're not. They don't even have control over their own emotions, their own discipline, their own habits. And that's why God makes you wait. That's why he puts you through fire, so that when success comes, you don't fold under it. You ever wonder why God took so long to elevate some of the greatest men in history? Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he was ready to lead. Joseph was thrown into slavery and prison before he became second in command of Egypt. Even David, a king anointed as a boy, had to go through years of struggle before he ever sat on the throne. Why? Because God never puts unprepared men in positions of power. And if you are still in the struggle, if you are still waiting, then God is still preparing you. The only way you lose is if you quit too soon. If you let frustration trick you into thinking that the process isn't working. If you let your emotions make you walk away from something that is already yours, you just haven't grown into it yet. The real test isn't whether or not you can handle success. The real test is whether or not you can handle waiting for it. Are you strong enough to keep working when it looks like nothing is happening? Are you disciplined enough to stay focused when doubt is screaming in your ear? Are you faithful enough to keep moving when you can't see the finish line? Because if you can do that, if you can trust the process, even when it feels like everything is against you, let me say this one last time. God knows best. He is never late. He is never wrong. He sees the full picture when all you see is one piece. And if you can have the strength to trust him, to embrace the struggle, and to refuse to quit, then success isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Are you going to keep doubting, keep resisting, keep letting frustration hold you back? Or are you going to wake up tomorrow and say, God, I trust you. I trust the process, and I'm going to keep going no matter what? Because that's the moment everything changes. That's the moment the struggle stops being your enemy and starts being your greatest advantage. The people who win in life, they don't run from the process, they embrace it. And if you can do the same, if you can stay the course and trust God's timing, then one day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day, you're going to look back at everything you've been through and say, now I understand. Listen to me. If you don't wake up right now, you will lose everything. Not just your dreams, your time, your potential, your entire future. And the worst part, it'll be your fault. You've been lied to. They told you to hope, to stay positive, to trust the process. It was all a trap. Hope is the greatest scam in human history, and it's the reason you're still broke, still weak, still invisible, in a world that only respects power. Every second you wait, another man, someone hungrier, stronger, and more ruthless than you, is taking what should have been yours. And if you don't act now, you will be left behind forever. This is your last chance to wake up. Listen closely or regret it for life. Let me tell you something most people are too scared to admit. Hope is useless without action. You've been lied to your whole life. They told you to stay positive, believe in yourself, and trust the universe, as if sitting around waiting for success to land in your lap was ever going to work. It won't. Right now, at this very moment, another man is outworking you. While you're scrolling through your phone, he's making money. While you're hesitating, he's executing. While you're hoping for change, he's forcing the world to bend to his will. That's why you're stuck. That's why you don't have what you want, because you still think hope will save you. It won't. Because winners don't hope, winners take action. You think the world is unfair? Guess what? It is. You think the rich have an advantage? They do. You think successful men are playing the game better than you? They are. But here's what no one wants to admit. You can win anyway. How? By doing what weak men refuse to do. Discipline, sacrifice, suffering, grinding when everyone else is quitting. That's how you win. That's how you become the kind of man nobody can compete with. But most of you will never do it. You'll watch this, feel motivated for 5 minutes, then go back to wasting time, and that's why you'll lose. Because deep down, you're addicted to comfort. You want success without suffering. You want rewards without discipline. Most people don't want to hear this, but pain is your greatest teacher. You don't grow from comfort. You don't evolve by taking it easy. You become strong by suffering. Think about the most powerful men in history. They didn't become great by hoping things would get easier. They became great by dominating, by forcing themselves to endure more pain, more struggle, more hardship than anyone else was willing to take. And that's exactly why most of you will never be successful, because you run from pain. You want to be fit, but you don't want to suffer through the workouts. You want to be rich, but you don't want to sacrifice your weekends grinding. You want respect, but you're too scared to do what it takes to earn it. Let me ask you, how badly do you want it? Because if you're not willing to bleed for it, you don't deserve it. Hope is for cowards. Action is for winners. And if you don't wake up and start acting like a man who deserves success, you will never have it. The real reason most of you are losing isn't because life is unfair. It's not because the system is rigged. It's not because you were dealt a bad hand. It's because you refuse to take full responsibility for your life. Most men today have become soft. They blame everyone else for their failures. They look at successful people and say, oh, he got lucky. No, he earned it. You think millionaires got lucky? You think world champions just had talent? No, they worked harder than you. They sacrificed more than you. They pushed through more pain than you ever have. That's why they win. That's why they dominate. And that's why you're still hoping while they're taking action. So what's it gonna be? Are you gonna keep sitting there wishing for success? Or are you finally gonna stand up and take it? The world is not a fairy tale. There is no happy ending for the weak. No knight in shining armor is coming to rescue you. The world only respects power, dominance, and action. You think life is about fairness, about equality? Wake up. The strong take and the weak get nothing. That is the truth they don't want you to realize. Every second you sit around hoping for things to change, another man is out there taking what should have been yours. You see it every day. The men who drive the cars you want, live in the houses you dream about, and date the women you desire. And do you know why they have those things? Because while you were wishing, they were working. While you were waiting for motivation, they were grinding. While you were saying, tomorrow I'll start, they were executing today. This is war. And in war, there are only two types of men: predators and prey. Every single decision you make is pushing you into one of those two categories. When your alarm goes off in the morning and you hit snooze, you choose to be prey. When you skip the gym because you're too tired, you choose to be prey. When you avoid hard work and make excuses, you choose to be prey. And the problem with being prey is that the world has no mercy for the weak. Society is designed to crush the men who refuse to compete. The economy is built to keep you trapped. The distractions, social media, junk food, endless entertainment, are all designed to keep you weak and controllable, because weak men don't take power. Weak men don't rise to the top. Weak men exist to serve the strong. And if you refuse to break out of that cycle, you will spend your entire life watching other men live the life you wanted. That is why you must become a predator. A man who doesn't wait, doesn't hesitate, doesn't rely on hope to guide his actions. You take what you want when you want because you have earned the right to do so. But that kind of power doesn't come from sitting around wishing for success. It comes from suffering for it. You want to be rich, then you better be willing to work 16-hour days while everyone else is resting. You want to be powerful, and you better be willing to sacrifice every weakness that holds you back. You want to be respected, then you better demand excellence from yourself in everything you do. That's the price of greatness. And most of you aren't willing to pay it. Hope is a disease. It's a trick they use to keep you obedient. They tell you to stay positive, to believe in yourself, as if mindset alone will make you successful. It won't. You can manifest all day long, but without action, you will remain exactly where you are. Hope without discipline is just another form of procrastination. The difference between winners and losers is simple. Winners execute, losers wait. Every time you hesitate, you lose. Every time you choose comfort over discipline, you lose. Every time you waste another day thinking about success instead of taking real steps toward it, you lose. And do you know what happens when you lose too many times? You become irrelevant, forgotten, just another weak man who wasted his potential. You look around and see men getting richer, stronger, and more powerful, and you think to yourself, why not me? I'll tell you why, because you haven't earned it. Success is not handed out like candy, it is taken by force. You have to be willing to outwork, outthink, and outlast every single person in the room. You have to be so relentless, so disciplined, so obsessed with becoming the best version of yourself that failure becomes impossible. Because let me tell you something, there is a version of you that is unstoppable, a version of you that wakes up every day and dominates, a version of you that never hesitates, never complains, never stops pushing forward. That version of you is waiting to be unleashed. But the only way to bring him to life is to kill the weakness inside you. Your emotions don't matter, your excuses don't matter, your past doesn't matter. All that matters is what you do next. Every second wasted is a second closer to death. Every moment spent in weakness is a moment you will never get back. And one day, when you're old, when you're out of time, when you realize that you wasted your life hoping instead of taking, that regret will be unbearable, because by then it will be too late. The question is, are you going to let that happen, or are you going to rise up and take control of your destiny? Because let me make one thing clear. Nobody is coming to save you. Your parents won't save you. Your friends won't save you. The government won't save you. The universe won't save you. The only person who can change your life is you. And until you fully accept that, until you take complete ownership over your fate, you will never be free. The moment you realize that your success, your power, your future is 100% in your hands, that is the moment you become truly dangerous. Because that is the moment you stop hoping and start taking. So tell me, are you still gonna sit there hoping for success? Or are you gonna stand up and take what's yours? Most men today are weak, fragile, and pathetic. They live their entire lives in fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of pain. And because they are afraid, they stay broke, stay invisible, and stay powerless. Society has trained them to be this way. From the moment they were born, they were taught to be obedient, to be nice, to wait their turn. They were told that if they just stay patient and work hard, success will come to them. Lies. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who take action without hesitation. It comes to those who are willing to sacrifice comfort, endure suffering, and refuse to quit when things get tough. But most of you will never reach that level, because most of you choose weakness every single day. Look at your life. Look at your body, your bank account, your habits. Are you proud of them? If the answer is no, then let me tell you something. You are the problem. Not the economy, not society, not bad luck. You are the reason you don't have the life you want. You are the reason you wake up every day feeling frustrated, unsatisfied, and powerless. And until you take full responsibility for that, nothing will change. You see, most people don't want to hear this because it forces them to look in the mirror and face their own failures. It forces them to accept that their life is a direct result of their own choices and that level of accountability. Most men are too weak to handle it. Weakness is a choice. You don't accidentally become broke, out of shape, and unsuccessful. You chose it. Every time you skipped the gym, every time you wasted money on nonsense, every time you avoided hard work because it was too difficult, you were making a choice. And the result of those choices is the life you are living right now. But instead of fixing the problem, most of you look for excuses. You blame the system, you blame other people, you convince yourself that the world is against you as if that somehow justifies your laziness. It doesn't. Do you think powerful men waste their time complaining? Do you think billionaires sit around crying about how unfair the system is? No. They play the game better than anyone else, and they outwork, outthink, and outmaneuver their competition. And that is exactly why they win. Because they refuse to be weak. There is nothing respectable about being weak. Society tells you that it's okay to be average, that it's okay to be mediocre, that it's okay to be content with what you have. It's not. If you are not constantly improving, constantly pushing yourself, constantly evolving into a stronger version of yourself, then you are failing. Because here's the truth, weak men get left behind. Look around you. The men who are struggling, the men who are constantly stressed, the men who are stuck in dead-end jobs, barely scraping by, they are weak. They spent their entire lives making excuses instead of taking action. And now when they look back, all they see is wasted potential. Regret is the heaviest burden a man can carry. And if you don't change, if you don't start living with discipline and intensity, that will be your future. You need to understand something. Life is not about fairness. Life does not reward good intentions. It does not care how much you want success. It only cares about one thing, what you produce. If you are weak, life will crush you. If you are strong, life will reward you. It's that simple. And yet, most of you are still sitting around waiting for some magical moment to feel ready. Let me make something very clear. You will never feel ready. If you keep waiting for motivation, you will wait forever. The only way to get ahead is to take action even when you don't feel like it. That is the difference between winners and losers. Losers wait for the right time. Winners make the time right. Losers complain about how hard things are. Winners embrace the struggle and push through it. Losers waste time on distractions. Winners use every second to improve, grow, and dominate. The real reason most of you are stuck is because you have too many distractions, too many bad habits, too much weakness. You spend hours scrolling through social media, watching other men live the life you want instead of building it for yourself. You waste your time on meaningless entertainment, on chasing short-term pleasure, on doing everything except the one thing that actually matters, putting in the work. And do you know what's going to happen if you don't change? Nothing. Your life will look exactly the same next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And one day, when you're old, when you're too weak to change, you will look back and realize that you wasted everything. But here's the good news. You still have time. If you are reading this right now, it means you have the opportunity to fix your mistake. It means you can still become strong, still become powerful, still become the man you were meant to be. But that requires action. That requires discipline. That requires being brutally honest with yourself about where you are right now and where you need to be. And most importantly, it requires killing the weakness inside you. The time for excuses is over. The time for hesitation is over. The time for action is now. You either commit to leveling up or you accept a life of mediocrity. But make no mistake, there is no middle ground. You cannot be kind of successful. You cannot be partially disciplined. You are either all in or you are nothing. Winners take, losers wait. And right now at this very moment, you have to make a decision. Are you going to be a winner or a loser? Because time is running out. And if you don't act now, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Comfort is the most dangerous addiction in the world. It is more destructive than any drug, more enslaving than any prison. Comfort is what keeps you weak, what keeps you broke, what keeps you living a life of mediocrity while other men rise above you. And the worst part, you don't even realize it's killing you. You think your life is fine. You tell yourself you'll figure it out. But deep down, in the darkest part of your mind, you know the truth. You are failing. You are not the man you were meant to be. You are not pushing yourself to your limits. You are not even scratching the surface of your potential. And do you know why? Because you've chosen comfort over greatness. Think about the most successful men in the world, the billionaires, the champions, the warlords of industry. Do you think they live in comfort? Do you think they take it easy? No, they wake up every single day and embrace the struggle. They hunt pain. They force themselves to suffer more than anyone else because they know the truth. Suffering creates power. Every time you push through exhaustion, you become stronger. Every time you do something difficult, you become tougher. Every time you reject comfort and embrace hardship, you become more dangerous. But most of you avoid discomfort like a disease. You don't push your limits. You don't challenge yourself. You live your life avoiding struggle instead of chasing it. And that is why you are stuck. Look at your daily routine. Be honest with yourself. How much time do you spend in real pain? Not fake, meaningless stress, not little annoyances, but real, gut-wrenching, character-building pain. The kind that forges men into warriors. The kind that breaks the weak and hardens the strong. Do you train your body until it feels like it's going to collapse? Do you work so hard on your goals that your brain feels like it's on fire? Do you force yourself to suffer when every part of you wants to quit? If not, then you are still living like a coward. Because let me tell you something, greatness is built on pain. The reason most of you will never reach the top is because you love your weak little comforts too much. You love sleeping in, you love junk food, you love wasting time, you love avoiding responsibility, and that love for comfort is what's keeping you chained to failure. The difference between winners and losers is simple. Winners suffer more. The man who is willing to suffer the most will always win. And if you cannot endure pain, if you cannot force yourself to embrace hardship, you will always be at the mercy of those who can. There is a reason why soldiers are put through hell in training. There is a reason why champions push their bodies beyond human limits. There is a reason why the most powerful men in history have suffered more than anyone else, because power is built in the fire of suffering. Every time you refuse to suffer, you are rejecting your own power. Every time you choose comfort over struggle, you are choosing to be weak. And do you know what happens to weak men? They get crushed. Look around at the world. The weak are stepped on, the weak are used, the weak are ignored, disrespected, and forgotten. And if you continue choosing comfort over discipline, if you continue avoiding pain, that is exactly what will happen to you. You will become another faceless nobody, another weak man who spent his entire life avoiding suffering and ended up with nothing. And when you finally wake up, when you finally realize what you've lost, it will be too late. That's why you must kill the addiction to comfort right now. Burn it out of your mind. Reject it like a poison. Start seeking pain. Start training your mind and body to thrive in suffering. Wake up early when your body begs you to sleep in. Go to the gym when you feel too tired. Work harder than ever when your brain screams for rest. Do the things that make you uncomfortable, because that is where power is created. The weak will never understand this. They will continue making excuses. They will continue convincing themselves that life should be easy. But for those of you who are ready to rise, for those of you who are willing to suffer, the path is clear. You must make pain your ally. The man who is willing to suffer the most will always have the advantage. The man who thrives in discomfort will always be dangerous. The man who embraces suffering with open arms will always win. So now the question is, are you still going to chase comfort, or are you ready to suffer your way to the top? Most men live under the greatest illusion of all. They think they have time. They tell themselves they'll start tomorrow, next week, next month. They believe they have all the time in the world to get their life together, to build success, to become powerful. And that lie is the reason they stay weak, broke, and invisible. Time is not your ally. It is your enemy. Every second that passes is a second you will never get back. Every day you waste is one step closer to your grave. And yet you still hesitate. You still procrastinate. You still tell yourself, I'll do it later. Later is a myth. Later is the excuse of cowards. Later is how weak men justify their failure. Look back at the last 5 years of your life. Be brutally honest. Are you significantly richer, stronger, smarter, more powerful? Or are you still in the same position, repeating the same excuses, making the same mistakes? If you haven't changed, if you haven't progressed, then you have already wasted too much time. And if you don't wake up right now, the next 5 years will look exactly the same. That is the true cost of inaction. It's not just wasted time, it's wasted potential. Every moment you delay, there is another man out there grinding, improving, and taking the opportunities you are too slow to act on. And once he takes them, they are gone. Success is not infinite, power is not unlimited. There is only so much to go around, and if you don't seize it first, someone else will. The problem with most of you is that you live like you are immortal. You think you have decades to figure things out. You don't. Time is always against you. The man who understands this moves ruthlessly. He does not wait for the perfect moment. He creates the perfect. He does not waste time overthinking. He acts. He does not sit around planning forever. He executes immediately. That is why he wins. That is why he dominates. That is why he takes everything you wish you had, because while you were hesitating, he was moving. And by the time you finally decide to start, it will already be too late. You must kill the illusion of time right now. Every day that passes without action is a day you will never get back. Every hesitation is another nail in the coffin of your potential. Most of you think you can afford to wait. You can't. The man you could have been is already slipping away. Every second wasted is a piece of him dying. Every excuse you make, every delay you allow is another part of your future crumbling into dust. And the worst part? You won't even realize it until it's too late. Until one day you wake up, look in the mirror and see a weak, pathetic version of yourself staring back. A version that could have been great but instead chose comfort, hesitation, and failure. This is the reality most of you refuse to face. You think you have plenty of time to change. You don't. The men who win in this world move fast. They don't hesitate. They don't waste their days scrolling through nonsense, trapped in entertainment, avoiding responsibility. They wake up every single day with one purpose: to get ahead. And because they move faster than you, because they act when you hesitate, they will always be ahead of you. You cannot compete with them until you learn to move like them. You cannot win until you understand that every second of hesitation is another loss. Most of you will read this and feel the weight of truth hitting you. You will feel the regret of wasted years, the anger of lost opportunities. And yet, most of you will still do nothing. You will hear this, agree with it, and then go right back to your weak little habits, because deep down, you are still enslaved by comfort. Deep down, you still think you have time, but you don't. The clock is ticking, and every moment you waste is another step closer to irrelevance. There is a version of you that you need to destroy, the weak, undisciplined, hesitant version. The version that makes excuses, that wastes time, that chooses comfort over success. That version of you is the reason you don't have what you want in life. That version is keeping you broke, invisible, and powerless. And until you kill him, you will never rise to your full potential. Most men refuse to let go of their weakness because deep down, they're afraid. They cling to their old self, their old habits, their old way of thinking, because it feels safe. But let me tell you something, safety is a prison. The more you hold on to comfort, the tighter the chains become. The weaker you stay, the further you fall behind. You have to make a decision right now. Are you going to keep living as the same pathetic version of yourself? Or are you finally ready to evolve into the kind of man who is truly unstoppable? Because understand this, the process of becoming great is violent. It requires you to destroy every weak part of yourself. It requires you to go to war against the laziness, the fear, the hesitation that has held you back for years. It requires suffering. It requires discipline. It requires a level of sacrifice that most men are simply too soft to handle. And that is why most men fail, because they refuse to kill their weaknesses. Look at the greatest men in history. The warriors, the conquerors, the billionaires, they all had one thing in common. They were merciless with themselves. They did not allow weakness to exist in their minds, in their bodies, in their actions. They hunted down their flaws and destroyed them. And that is exactly what you need to do. You need to identify every single weakness inside you and exterminate it. Are you lazy? Then train yourself to work harder than anyone else. Are you weak? Then push your body beyond its limits every single day. Are you undisciplined? Then force yourself to follow a strict routine with no excuses. That is how you win. That is how you become dangerous. That is how you take control of your life and finally start dominating. But most of you are too soft to do this. You are still making excuses. You are still telling yourself, I'll start next week. As if you have time to waste. You don't. Every second that passes is another second you will never get back. And if you don't change, if you don't start executing with the intensity of a man who is ready to take over the world, you will stay exactly where you are. Broke, weak, forgotten. That is the fate of men who refuse to evolve. And if you are not willing to kill the weak version of yourself, then that will be your future. The weak version of you loves to procrastinate. He loves to waste time. He loves the idea of success, but hates the work it requires. And as long as you let him live inside you, he will sabotage every single opportunity you have. That version of you must die. You must rip him out of your mind and bury him forever. The moment you do this, the moment you fully commit to becoming the strongest, most disciplined, most relentless version of yourself, everything changes. You will wake up with purpose. You will move with power. You will grind harder than anyone else because you will finally understand that weakness is a disease that must be eradicated. You cannot live in two worlds. You cannot be both weak and powerful. You must choose the old you or the new you, comfort or discipline, mediocrity or greatness. But understand this, you cannot keep waiting. The men who hesitate, the men who refuse to evolve, they get left behind. The world belongs to those who move fast, to those who embrace suffering, to those who refuse to let weakness infect their lives. If you are still holding on to excuses, still delaying, still playing small, then you have already lost. So now the question is, are you ready to kill the weak version of yourself? Or are you still going to let him drag you down? This is it, the moment where you either wake up and take control of your life, or you continue down the same pathetic road you've been on for years. No more excuses. No more tomorrow. No more waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. The time is now. You have been given the truth, and now you have a decision to make. Will you rise, or will you stay weak? The world does not care about your excuses. It does not care about your feelings. It does not care if you are tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. The world only respects results. And if you refuse to deliver, if you refuse to step up and dominate, then you will be nothing more than another forgotten man. A man who had potential but never had the courage to use it. You have one life, one shot to build the legacy you claim you want. But every second you waste, another man is out there taking what should have been yours. Your dream body, someone else is training harder than you to get it. Your dream business, someone else is outworking you to build it. Your dream life, another man is living it because he was willing to suffer for it while you hesitated. So let me ask you, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep waiting, keep making excuses, keep pretending that one day everything will magically fall into place? Or are you gonna stand up, take action, and finally become the man you were born to be? Because in the end, there are only two types of men. The ones who take what they want and the ones who watch from the sidelines. So tell me, which one are you? The version of you you're afraid to become, he's in a fantasy. He's your reflection without the lies. Kill who you've been. Act like the future is already yours. Or stay forgotten. Your choice. The man you're afraid to become, he's already inside you. You've just been too weak, too soft, too scared to let him out. But today, you kill the coward pretending to be you. The truth is, most people live as strangers to themselves. Not because they don't want more, but because they've been trained like obedient dogs to believe that they are fixed. That their personality, their habits, their failures, they're part of their DNA. That's the biggest lie the world sells you, that you're stuck with who you are. You're not stuck. You're just scared to destroy the version of yourself that feels safe, even if that version is quietly murdering your potential every single day. You don't need therapy, you need war. You don't need to be understood, you need to be rebuilt from the ground up, brick by disciplined brick, with the steel of self-respect and the fire of intention. You've been taught to find yourself, like your best version is hidden under a rock, waiting for you to stumble on it while scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m. That's not how power is born. You don't find yourself, you forge yourself. You eliminate the man who wakes up dreading life and you replace him with someone who commands it. Your old self isn't broken, it's obsolete, and yet you defend it. You protect your insecurities like they're sacred. You justify your procrastination with mental gymnastics. You look in the mirror and see a prisoner, not realizing you're the guard, the cell, and the key. All at once. Most men will die as versions of themselves they never respected, and that should terrify you. If the thought of remaining who you are for the rest of your life doesn't shake your soul, then you're already lost. Because deep down, you know there's a version of you who speaks with fire, who walks like a storm, who commands respect without raising his voice. You've seen glimpses of him. In moments where you acted without fear, stood tall in chaos, made a decision with absolute certainty, he showed up, and then you buried him because the world told you that standing out was dangerous, that confidence was arrogance, that power was toxic. A weakness is toxic, and you've been addicted to it because it feels safe, predictable, easy. But comfort is the cage, and you've been living like a pet when you were born a predator. Who you are is not who you must remain. That one sentence can rip open your reality if you let it. Your habits are not you. Your failures are not final. Your fears are not facts. But here's the catch. You have to kill the coward before you can crown the king. And it won't feel like inspiration. It'll feel like death, because transformation is always violent. Rewriting your identity means letting go of the traits you've used to survive, the excuses, the trauma, the stories. You have to become the person who would rather burn than live another day playing small. That's the gateway. You don't tiptoe into greatness, you erupt into it. So when I say become the man you fear you can't be, I'm not saying pretend. I'm saying evolve with brutality. Move like you already are him. Think like he thinks. Speak like he speaks. Make choices that the future you would applaud, not regret. That's how identity is rewritten. Not with hope, not with vision boards, but with force. And don't you dare wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a myth. No one arrives at power fully prepared. They step into it raw, trembling, unsure, and they earn the right to belong by refusing to retreat. That's what real self-respect looks like. There is no ceremony, no applause, no support group waiting to clap for you when you finally choose to rise. The moment you rewrite who you are is the moment you become your own savior. The world will resist. Your friends won't understand. Your old self will scream for mercy. But if you hold the line, if you suffer with purpose, you'll wake up one day and not recognize the man in the mirror. Not because he's unfamiliar, but because he's finally who you were meant to be all along. Understand this, power isn't given, it's taken. Identity isn't discovered, it's built. And your destiny isn't found in the safety of who you've always been, it's in the ashes of who you're brave enough to stop being. So look yourself in the eye today and ask, am I willing to bury the weak version of me, even if it hurts, even if no one claps, even if no one believes? Because if the answer is yes, then you're already rewriting the script. You're already on the path to becoming the man who terrifies you in the best way possible. And once that switch flips, there's no going back. Nor should you ever want to. I remember a time when I wasn't this man, not even close. I wasn't walking into rooms with fire in my eyes. I was dragging my feet, hiding my power, apologizing for wanting more. I didn't speak with certainty. I questioned myself before every move, every word. I was addicted to hesitation. And the worst part, I convinced myself that this was just who I was. That I wasn't built like that. That confidence was for other men. I wore self-doubt like it was stitched into my skin, and yet deep down, a war was brewing. Because every time I saw a man who had what I wanted, I felt rage. Not envy, but rage. Not because he had it, but because I knew I was supposed to be him, and I wasn't. I wasn't living as the man I was born to become. I was surviving as a watered-down version of someone I didn't even respect. One day, I snapped. Not in a Hollywood movie kind of way. There was no music, no spotlight, no applause, just silence. I looked at myself in the mirror and said the words that changed everything. This version of me has taken me as far as it's ever going to. Now he has to die. And I meant it. That man, the tired one, the insecure one, the one waiting for permission, he wasn't invited into the next chapter. He was the chapter I had to burn to the ground. People think transformation is some soft, gentle process. No, real change is violent. Real growth demands sacrifice. I had to start talking different. I had to walk like I owned the ground I stepped on. I had to show up every day like the man I feared I couldn't be until the world had no choice but to treat me as him. And don't think it was easy. It was torture at times. The voices in your head don't shut up when you change. They scream louder. The doubt doesn't vanish. It mutates, tries to infiltrate your new mindset. People around you will pull you back, not always out of hate, sometimes out of fear. Because your evolution forces them to confront their stagnation, and most people would rather drag you down than level up with you. But I kept going, not because I was fearless, but because I was sick of being invisible in my own life. I told myself, if I die trying to become the man I was meant to be, that's a life well spent. But if I live as a shadow, I'm already dead. There was a point where I stopped recognizing myself. In the best way possible, I started speaking differently. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was speaking like a man who believed every word. I began moving through life with calculated aggression. Every action had weight. Every choice aligned with my future self. That's when I realized the key. You don't wait until you feel like that, man. You act as if you already are him. And eventually, the world catches up. Reality bends for the man who refuses to bend for it. You walk like you're unstoppable long enough and people start to believe you are. But more importantly, you believe it. And once you believe it, it's over for the weak version of you. He doesn't even get a vote anymore. I became the man I once feared I couldn't be. And it didn't happen because I found myself. It happened because I buried the coward, resurrected the savage, and committed to never shrinking again. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped negotiating with mediocrity. I started walking like I had nothing to lose and everything to prove. Not to the world, but to myself. That's the part people miss. Becoming him isn't about revenge, fame, or applause. It's about fulfilling your own prophecy, about honoring the version of you that's been locked away behind years of fear and doubt. It's about unleashing him, not once, but every single day until there's no trace left of who you used to be. That's not arrogance, that's liberation. That's freedom from the lie that your past defines your future, from the belief that change needs permission. No, change needs commitment. The kind of commitment that doesn't waver when it gets lonely, the kind that keeps swinging even when your hands are bleeding. You become the man you fear you can't be by refusing to return to the man you know you've outgrown. You don't try, you declare war on everything inside you that doubts your right to evolve. This isn't a fairy tale. This is blood, sweat, obsession, sacrifice. This is rewriting your story with actions, not words. So if you're still waiting for the perfect time, understand this, it never comes. The only thing that arrives is regret, and he's a brutal companion. You want freedom? Rewrite your identity. You want power? Walk like you already hold it. You want respect? Earn it by becoming undeniable. And if you do it right, if you commit with everything inside you, you'll look back and realize the man you once feared you couldn't be became the only man you ever respected. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that sick feeling in your stomach when you realize time's slipping through your fingers and you're still the same? Not because you're lazy, but because deep down, you're terrified of becoming powerful. You say you want it, you shout about it, you wear the clothes and repost the quotes. But when it comes time to shed your skin and walk into the fire, you hesitate, you stall, and then you lie to yourself. You say you're thinking, you're planning, you're almost ready. You're not, you're scared. Because becoming the man you fear you can't be means killing the man you're comfortable being. And your comfort is killing you more slowly than any disease ever could. Here's the truth no one will say out loud. Most men don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they refuse to suffer the death of their current identity. You're not stuck because the world's unfair. You're stuck because you're still trying to drag your past into your future. You think you can keep your habits, your circle, your thoughts, and still rise? You think you can take your softness with you into war? You can't. You either evolve or you evaporate. This isn't motivation. This is survival. And the most brutal part of all this is that your future self is watching you every day, quietly, waiting, judging, dying slowly while you procrastinate, hesitate, negotiate. You don't have infinite time. You think you do, but one day you'll wake up and realize the man you could have become died the moment you chose distraction over domination. Right? And that's a grave you'll have to visit alone. You know what fear really is? Fear isn't some external monster chasing you. Fear is the quiet voice inside your head that whispers, "What if I'm not enough?" It's the reason you keep delaying the work, the reason you scroll, the reason you tell yourself next week for the 5th year in a row. But here's what they don't teach you. Fear is not your enemy, it's your compass. The man you're supposed to become lives on the other side of the decisions you're avoiding. That version of you, the one you admire, the one you daydream about, he exists. But he exists in the realm of discomfort, pain, risk, and sacrifice. You want to meet him? Then you better be ready to bleed for it. And understand this, no one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your government, not some magical sign from the universe. You are alone in this. But in that loneliness, you will find your power. Because when you stop waiting to be rescued, you start building yourself brick by brick. And yes, it will hurt. It's supposed to. Because growth is not born in peace, it's forged in war. Every time you feel the urge to quit, to play small, to go back to comfort, that's the old version of you trying to survive. Don't negotiate with him. Don't give him oxygen. Let him suffocate. That voice that tells you to rest, to wait, to settle, it's not your intuition, it's your enemy. There is no rewind button, no reset. The pain of regret will always outweigh the pain of discipline. And one day you're going to realize that the life you wanted was never stolen, it was simply never claimed. Every day you hesitate, someone else gets ahead. Every hour you spend doubting yourself, someone else is becoming everything you're afraid to become. And the scariest part, they're not better than you. They're just bolder. They decided. That's it. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait to feel ready. They stepped into the fire and forced the universe to adapt. You can either be the man who reacts or the man who reshapes reality around his will, but you can't be both. So what are you really afraid of? That you'll fail? That people will laugh? That you'll fall flat on your face? Good. You're supposed to. That's the process. That's the test. That's the price of evolution. If you're not afraid of the man you're becoming, you're not aiming high enough. You need to be uncomfortable with how powerful you're trying to become, because only then will you stretch. Only then will you shatter the shell of who you were. And if you're not willing to break, if you're not willing to rebuild your identity from the rubble of your old life, then be honest and admit you're not serious. Stop pretending you want it. Stop lying to yourself, because the world doesn't bend for wishful thinkers. It bends for relentless. Here's the final truth. One day you will face a version of yourself in the mirror, one you created or one you abandoned. And when that moment comes, you'll either be filled with pride or paralyzed with grief, not because of what happened, but because of what never did. Your biggest fear isn't failure, it's mediocrity disguised as comfort. It's looking back and realizing you had the power, but you never pulled the trigger. You had the vision, but you never acted. And that is a pain no man recovers from. Rewriting your identity is not a motivational slogan, it's a war cry. It's the only path that leads to the man you were destined to become. And the clock is ticking. Every second wasted is another nail in the coffin of your unrealized greatness. So decide. Burn the excuses, bury the weakness, rewrite your identity, or stay exactly where you are and die knowing you could have been a fucking legend. You want to know what separates the ones who become monsters from the ones who only dream of being strong? It's not talent. It's not intelligence, it's obsession. It's a violent, unshakable obsession with becoming the man you're scared to admit you could be. Most people don't lack potential, they lack urgency. You don't need more books. You don't need more podcasts. You don't need more time to figure it all out. You need pressure. You need to wake up every single day and act like you're 5 years behind and running out of oxygen, because you are. That person you idolize in your head, he's already moving. He's already training, grinding, executing. And if you don't match his pace, you'll never catch up. The gap won't close itself. You either run faster or get left behind. No one cares how much it hurts. The universe respects velocity, not intention. You've got to understand, identity isn't something you're born with. It's something you forge. It's a sculpture, and your daily actions are the hammer and chisel. You carve it with sacrifice. You shape it with suffering. You define it by making choices that betray your comfort. That's how you rewrite who you are. If you're not acting like him, you'll never become him. You can't think your way into a new life. You have to act like you've already arrived. Your words have to change, your posture, your tone, the way you walk into a room, the way you train, eat, sleep, work, the way you handle disrespect, the way you shake hands. Everything has to evolve. You don't wait to feel confident. You move like the man who already conquered the future. It's the only way the world starts treating you like him. Let me tell you something they don't teach you in school or therapy. Your feelings don't matter. Your actions do. You feel tired? Good. Move anyway. You feel lost? Push forward. You feel scared? Execute with precision. Power doesn't come from eliminating fear. It comes from overriding it so often that fear becomes irrelevant. Weak people wait for clarity. Strong men create it. That's the law of the jungle. No lion waits to feel like a killer. He just kills. That's how he becomes the apex predator. That's how you must operate. You don't wait for motivation, because most days it won't come. What will come is chaos, problems, delays, doubts, and your ability to move anyway is what will separate you from the masses drowning in mediocrity. You don't rise when it's easy, you rise when it's brutal, and you still refuse to break. You want to know how to become him? Outwork your identity until your old self doesn't even recognize you. Obsess over excellence until people look at you like you've lost your mind. Let them call you crazy. Legends always are in the beginning. Stop needing validation. Stop seeking permission. Stop apologizing for chasing a life that makes average men uncomfortable. This path isn't supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to stretch your soul until it rips. And when it rips, you build muscle where the tear used to be. That's where confidence is born, not from comfort, not from compliments, but from discipline under pressure. From being the only one still grinding when everyone else gave up and went home. That's what it means to build yourself into someone unrecognizable. No one gets to rewrite their story by playing it safe. You can't become something greater if you're still clinging to who you were. The man you're becoming must be built with fire, not pillows. You've got to learn how to keep showing up when there's no applause, no reward, no external motivation, just the whisper in your mind that says, keep going. You're not done yet. And that whisper, that's the future you. That's the voice of the beast waiting to be born. That's the man who will make the world bend because he never asked it to. You've got to earn his respect. You've got to prove that you can carry the weight of becoming him without crying about the pain it takes to get there. Because once you've rewritten your identity, you'll look back and laugh at who you used to be. You'll laugh because you'll realize he was never real. He was a placeholder, a shadow, a draft. The real you was always hidden beneath the layers of lies, distractions, excuses, and fear. But now you're peeling that all away, slowly, brutally, relentlessly. And what you're left with is truth. Raw, unfiltered truth. Not who the world told you to be, not who your parents wanted you to become, not who your teachers trained you to stay as, but the man you were born to forge, with scars, with rage, with vision, with hunger. That's the man who rewrites destiny. That's the man who turns chaos into kingdom. That's the man who doesn't just chase dreams, he bends reality to his will and makes them kneel. So here's what you do next. No more waiting, no more talking, no more planning. Start living like you've already made it. Speak like the man who already owns the throne. Walk like the man who already buried his doubt. Train like the man who doesn't know how to quit. Work like the man who's already got a legacy on his back. Every move you make must echo the identity you're becoming. Every breath must declare, I am no longer him. I am already who I feared I couldn't become. Right now, this very second, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to the same loop you've been stuck in. Comfortable misery, fake confidence, temporary distractions, cheap dopamine hits, and shallow victories that mean nothing when the lights go out. That version of you dies, slowly, silently, a walking ghost in a body pretending to be alive. The other path, that one burns. It screams. It demands blood. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you destroy the soft, fragile illusion of who you think you are and build something monstrous in its place. That path doesn't give you rest. It doesn't offer you peace, but it gives you freedom. And that's what you've been searching for this whole time. Freedom from the chains of the identity you never chose, but accepted like a coward. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your invitation. The man you dream of becoming isn't hiding from pain. He's forged by it. He's not praying for clarity. He's punching through confusion. He's not wasting time waiting for motivation. He's moving like a storm through the battlefield of indecision, because hesitation is the language of the weak. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. You were never meant to live like this. You were never meant to settle. You were never meant to wake up with regret. You were never meant to apologize for ambition or feel guilty for being different. That discomfort in your chest every night when you lie in bed staring at the ceiling, that's not anxiety. That's not depression. That's your soul screaming there is more, but you keep muting it. You keep numbing it with distractions, telling yourself you'll fix it one day. But one day is a lie that thieves use to steal your greatness without a sound. And let me say this clearly so it echoes in your mind until you act on it. No one is coming to save you. No mentor, no friend, no miracle, no second chance. It's on you now, all of it. And the scariest part, you've always had the power. You were just too scared to use it, scared of judgment, scared of failure, scared of outgrowing your environment. But that fear was always the test. It's not the enemy, it's the gatekeeper. And only those who face it, who push past it with force, who walk into the storm instead of running from it, ever reach the other side. There's the reason the version of you that haunts your dreams also terrifies you when you're awake. Because deep down, you know he's real. You want to change your life? Stop changing small things. Stop rearranging the furniture in a burning house. Burn the whole thing down. Build from ash. Reinvent your mind, your habits, your focus, your circle, your standards. You don't need more time, you need more intensity. You don't need new goals, you need new behaviors. You don't need permission, you need fire. Because the world doesn't respond to men who hope, it bows to men who move. And right now, you've got a decision to make. Are you going to keep pretending like you're okay, living as 50% of your potential, hiding from your own reflection, calling it being realistic? Or are you finally going to do what you were born to do, rewrite your identity and become the person you fear you can't be? And let me tell you what happens when you do. You'll lose friends, you'll confuse family, you'll be misunderstood, mocked, doubted, you'll spend nights alone, surrounded by silence, rebuilding brick by brick while everyone else parties. But on the other side, you'll become someone no one can ignore. You'll walk into rooms and silence them without saying a word. You'll earn the kind of respect that can't be bought, only built. You'll sleep with clarity, wake with purpose, move with violence, and live with peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from ease, but the peace that comes from knowing you became everything you were meant to be. So here's the truth. Right now, no one knows your name. No one's watching. No one's clapping. Perfect. This is where monsters are made. In silence, in isolation, in the dark. If you're serious, if you're done lying to yourself, then prove it today. This hour, this moment, do something that forces your old self to panic. Kill the habits that keep you soft. Move like you're already the man people think is impossible to become. Act like the future is your past and the rest of the world is just catching up. That's how you rewrite your identity. That's how you leave behind the version of you that was never worthy of your name. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be relentless. You just need to stop waiting. You just need to become him. The man who terrified you because deep down you always knew he was possible. He's not a dream. He's not a fantasy. He's not someone else. He's you. And he's been waiting this whole time for you to finally rise. So rise and don't look back. Winning is a state of mind long before it becomes a result. And if your mind isn't stronger than your feelings, you've already lost. Regret doesn't knock. It kicks the door down when it's too late. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, but only if you refuse to stay down. This world doesn't reward the average, it devours them. So ask yourself right now, are you a predator or the prey? The reason most people lose is simple. They never understood what it actually takes to win. They think winning is about talent or luck or having the right connections. That's what losers cling to, that fairy tale where the universe blesses you out of nowhere. But winning, real, unstoppable, alpha level winning, it's a decision, a violent, deliberate, unshakable decision made in the darkest corners of the mind where no one else can hear you but your own doubts screaming. It's waking up one day and saying, I will not be average. I will not be forgotten. I will not live a life of quiet desperation while pretending I'm fine. That's the root of it. Winning at all costs means you stop living like everyone else. It means you destroy the very identity that kept you weak. You abandon mediocrity like it's a play, because it is. The average man justifies his failures with excuses. The winner finds a way or he dies trying. Most people live like sheep. They want comfort more than victory. They want to be liked more than they want to be powerful. But comfort is a drug and it kills ambition. It numbs your instincts. It turns lions into house cats. Every time you hit snooze, every time you justify skipping the gym, every time you procrastinate that business idea or that hard conversation, you're voting for the man you don't want to become. You're giving up your place on the podium so you can feel good today. And that's exactly how losers are created. One small compromise at a time. Winning doesn't come from one massive act of greatness. It comes from 1,000 silent sacrifices when nobody's watching. From doing the hard thing when every part of your mind tells you to take the easy way out. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Most people never figure that out, and they pay for it with a lifetime of regret. The truth is, winning is supposed to be hard. It's meant to be brutal. It's meant to push you to your absolute limits until you either adapt or get crushed. There's no glory without suffering, no greatness without isolation. If you want to be first, if you want to dominate, you have to be willing to do what 99% of people won't. That means giving up comfort, giving up weak friends, giving up distractions. It means killing the boy inside you that wants to be coddled and building the man who takes what he wants regardless of who doubts him. Winning doesn't ask if you're ready. It demands that you become ready. You don't need permission. You need purpose. You need fire. You need to wake up every day with the mindset that second place is failure. That good enough is an insult, that anything short of absolute domination is a betrayal of your potential. People talk about balance, about work-life harmony. Let me tell you something. Balance is for the mediocre. The man who wins is the one who sacrifices imbalance for a season so he can live free for the rest of his life. While others are out chasing weekends, he's building an empire. While they're on Netflix, he's on his grind. While they're waiting for motivation, he's doing it anyway. That's the difference. That's what separates winners from spectators. Success is never owned, it's rented, and the rent is due every damn day. And most men, they can't pay the price. Not because they're incapable, but because they've been trained to be soft. They've been taught to be passive, to wait for life to hand them opportunity instead of forging it with bloody hands and sleepless nights. Winning at all costs means you don't hope things work out, you make them work out, you force the outcome, you impose your will on life. But here's the hope, here's the power. You can become that man. You weren't born a loser, you were just taught to live like one. And if you can be taught weakness, you can teach yourself strength. You can rewire your brain, you can rewire your story, you can rise up with the kind of energy that scares your old self into silence. You can outwork, outthink, and outlast anyone if you decide that losing is no longer an option. You don't need more motivation. You need to make losing so painful that winning becomes the only choice. That's how winners think. That's how killers move. Not with hesitation, but with conviction, with rage, with purpose. So let this be your moment. The second your soul finally wakes up, No more half measures. No more excuses. No more waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time is a lie. The perfect plan is a myth. All you have is right now and the decision to change everything. Stop looking at winners like they're born different. They're not. They're just men who got sick of losing and did something about it. And now it's your turn. Decide to win. Decide to go all in. Decide to burn the boats, kill the doubt, and move like a savage until victory is yours. Winning at all costs is the only mindset worth having, because second place is just the story of the man who almost made it. I remember a time when I was flat broke. Not just money-wise, I mean mentally bankrupt. I was living in a small, dark apartment, mold on the ceiling, mattress on the floor, phone cracked, bank account in the red. I didn't even have proper food half the time. I'd eat cheap bread and canned tuna for weeks because that's all I could afford. And during those nights when the silence was loud and the hunger dug into my ribs like knives, I used to sit there and stare at the ceiling and think, is this it? Is this who I am? I wasn't lazy. I wasn't stupid. I just hadn't made the decision yet, the real decision to win at all costs. I was still playing safe, still trying to be reasonable, still scared of failing harder. But I hit that point where I realized the pain of staying the same was more suffocating than the fear of change. And that's when everything snapped. That's when I chose war. People think success is this smooth upward climb. It's not. It's messy, it's ugly, it's chaotic. When I started chasing real power, I lost sleep, lost friends, lost comfort, but I found something far more valuable. I found control. I stopped begging life to be easier and started becoming stronger. I stopped looking for shortcuts and started building weapons out of every failure. Your story doesn't end in struggle unless you quit writing it, and I wasn't about to put the pen down. Every rejection, every setback, every lonely night became fuel. I started treating my losses like data. If I failed in business, I didn't cry about it. I analyzed, I studied, I went back in sharper. If I got outperformed in the gym, I didn't sulk, I trained harder. If I made a bad decision, I didn't spiral, I adjusted. That's how winners evolve. They don't pray for pity, they adapt until the game bends to their will. There was a day I'll never forget. I had just lost a major opportunity, could have changed everything. A deal fell through. I was devastated. Most people would have packed it in and gone back to being average, but I looked in the mirror and said, this isn't the end. This is the beginning of the version of me that wins no matter what. I didn't take a day off. I didn't drown in self-pity. I went back to work with rage, controlled, focused rage. That's the difference between winners and the rest. Winners use the pain. They don't run from it. They don't numb it. They weaponize it. You know what really changed me? It wasn't money. It wasn't status. It was walking into a room and knowing no one there could break me. Knowing I'd been through hell and made it out with scars that told stories of survival and dominance. That unshakable confidence, that came from choosing to win when it was inconvenient, choosing to grind when no one was watching, choosing to stay disciplined when the world was out partying. You build self-respect by doing hard things over and over again without applause. That's how I went from invisible to undeniable, not by chasing approval, but by chasing mastery. I remember training in the cold, knuckles bleeding, muscles screaming, and thinking, no one's coming to save me. And that wasn't depressing, it was liberating. Because once you realize no one owes you anything, you take full control. You stop waiting and start building. You stop hoping and start executing. I built my business like that. I built my physique like that. I built my mind like that, not with luxury, but with pressure. The harder life hit me, the more I leaned in, because when your back's against the wall and you still move forward, you become untouchable. The world didn't hand me anything. I took it, I earned it, I bled for it, and now I live free, not just financially, but mentally. I don't walk into a room wondering if I'm enough. I walk in knowing they have to catch up. And it all started with one choice: to win no matter what. That mindset built me. That obsession shaped me. And now I'll die before I go back to average. Once you taste power, comfort disgusts you. That's where I live now. In that space where ambition suffocates excuses, where action crushes overthinking, and where results are the only language that matters. You might be sitting where I was, broke, lost, doubting yourself. Maybe people don't believe in you. Maybe you don't even believe in you. But here's the truth. They don't have to. You don't need them to. All you need is one moment of clarity, one moment where you decide you're done playing small, done apologizing, done waiting, because from that moment forward, you can rewrite everything. You can become the man who walks into chaos and laughs, the man who gets hit and keeps moving, the man who doesn't stop until he wins, not out of luck, but out of sheer refusal to quit. That's the real story, not the fame, not the flash, the beast you become in the process, the man forged through fire. And once you've seen him, once you've lived like him, you will never settle for second place again. Not in business, not in fitness, not in life. You will win at all costs, because the alternative is simply not an option. There's a reason most people lose, and it's not because they're incapable. It's because deep down they've made peace with mediocrity. They've convinced themselves that trying is enough, that effort without results still counts for something. But life doesn't reward effort, life rewards outcomes. It's not about how hard you tried, it's about whether you won. And the second you accept that, you stop wasting energy on excuses and start doing what needs to be done. There is no room for softness in a world built on domination. You either take control or you're control. You either rise or you rot. If you're not obsessed with winning, you've already lost. That's the truth most can't handle, because obsession isn't comfortable. It's brutal. It demands sacrifice. But that's the price. That's the toll at the gates of greatness. And what scares people the most isn't the grind, it's the responsibility. It's the moment you realize everything wrong in your life is your fault. That's terrifying until it becomes liberating. Because once you claim responsibility, you reclaim power. The moment you stop blaming others, the moment you say, no one is coming to save me, you tap into a fire that never goes out. You stop waiting for permission. You stop craving validation. You become your own weapon. That's what winning at all costs truly means. It's not about stepping on others. It's about refusing to be stepped on. It's about building a version of yourself so sharp, so focused, that nothing can dull your edge. You want to know the real fear? Is waking up 10 years from now and realizing you're still the same, that all the potential you had was wasted, that the dreams you buried never saw daylight, that you let comfort sedate your ambition. That's the nightmare. That's what should keep you up at night. The pain of regret will always outweigh the pain of discipline. And if that line hits you, good. It means there's still time. Time to make the hard choices. Time to become dangerous. Because if you're not dangerous, you're disposable. It's how the world works. It rewards the capable and forgets the weak. You want peace? Be capable of violence. You want respect? Build results no one can ignore. You want freedom? Outwork everyone, outsmart everyone, outlast everyone. That's how real men move. That's how winners dominate. There's always going to be a voice in your head telling you to rest, to take it easy, to quit. That voice is your enemy. That's the voice of weakness, and it's lying to you. You're not tired. You're undisciplined. You're not broken. You're untrained. You don't need a break. You need to break through. That's how I silenced my doubts. I buried them under action. Every time fear crept in, I got louder. Every time I hesitated, I pushed harder, because hesitation is death in this game. The world moves fast, and if you blink, you're done. You need to move like your life depends on it, because it does. Success doesn't wait for you to be ready. It rewards the man who shows up, ready or not. The most dangerous man is the one who's been underestimated, the one who's been doubted, mocked, dismissed, and didn't fold. He trained in silence, he built in darkness, and when the time came, he erupted like a storm. That's who you need to become. That's the mentality. You don't announce it, you just show up, undeniable, no warning, no explanation, just results that shut everyone up. That's the fire you need. That's what it means to win at all costs, not just physically, not just financially, but spiritually. You win because losing isn't even an option. You win because you've tasted the dirt and you're never going back. You want a better life? Then stop treating this like a game. This is war. Every day you wake up with two choices: rise or stay the same. That's it. You either go all in or you get left behind. There's no middle ground. There's no safety net. It's dominate or be dominated. So if you're serious, if you really want it, then burn the fallback plan. Kill the excuses, silence the noise, step into the fire and become the man the world fears, the man who wins relentlessly, unapologetically at all costs. The difference between winners and everyone else isn't talent. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's obsession. It's discipline. It's waking up every single day with a fire so violent it burns through every excuse, every setback, every weakness. Winners don't care how they feel. They care about the mission. They don't negotiate with laziness. They don't tolerate distractions. They get up, they grind, and they keep moving forward regardless of the storm around them. Discipline is the only real freedom. You think you're free when you sleep in or skip the workout or ignore the business plan? That's not freedom. That's enslavement to comfort. That's the leash of mediocrity tightening around your throat while you pretend you're relaxed. True freedom is earned through suffering, through sacrifice, through relentless action. You want to be great? Then you better understand something right now. This world doesn't reward the kind-hearted loser. It rewards the ruthless producer. The man who shows up whether it's raining or burning. The man who doesn't wait for motivation because he is the motivation. Winners make their habits stronger than their feelings. And that's the key. You can't be a slave to your emotions. You think I always want to work? You think I never doubt myself? Of course I do. But the difference is I act anyway. I override the weakness. I kill it with momentum. Every rep, every deal, every morning when I don't want to move, but I do anyway, that's where the power builds. That's where the king is forged. Not in luxury, not in celebration, in war, in the lonely grind where no one claps, where no one believes, where it's just you and your will to dominate. And the deeper you go into the pursuit of greatness, the fewer people you'll find around you. That's the truth. Most won't understand your drive. They'll call it obsession. They'll say you're arrogant, too focused, too serious. Let them talk. Their comfort is their prison. Their mediocrity is their identity. You, on the other hand, are here for war. You're here to conquer your limits, destroy your weaknesses, and rebuild yourself into someone who never folds. Every day you skip discipline, someone else is taking your spot. That's the reality. While you rest, someone else is refining. While you complain, someone else is capitalizing. The gap between you and the throne widens every time you choose comfort. You want to catch up? Then move with urgency, with intention, with a savage hunger that refuses to starve. Winners see failure and smile because they understand one thing. It's not final. It's feedback. It's a map to the next level. Every L is just a lesson if your ego doesn't get in the way. Weak men run from pain. Strong men learn from it. The world belongs to the man who's been through hell and came back stronger. That's the truth no one wants to face. They want shortcuts, they want hacks, they want someone to do the work for them. But there's no cheat code to greatness. There's only pain, repetition, discipline, and results. And the moment you fall in love with that process, everything changes. Because now it's not about winning once, it's about winning forever. In every area, business, fitness, relationships, your entire existence becomes a battlefield where the only acceptable outcome is domination. You weren't born to be average. Deep down, you know it. There's a reason you're still reading this. There's a voice in you screaming for more. A voice that's sick of being ignored. That voice is your higher self. And it's done watching you settle. It's time you stopped betraying it. You already know what needs to be done. You're just hoping there's another way. There isn't. And that's the most powerful truth of all. The life you want is behind the work you're avoiding. The strength you crave is on the other side of the resistance. The man you're meant to be is hidden under the version you're too comfortable to kill. So do it. Step up. Tear the comfort apart. Build a mind that's unbreakable, a body that intimidates, a will that can't be tamed. That's what it means to win at all costs. It's not a choice, it's your duty. You've heard enough. Now it's time to act. You've sat in silence while life passed you by long enough. If you don't decide right now that you're going to chase greatness like your life depends on it, then you've already lost. The universe doesn't hand out rewards for effort. It delivers to the obsessed, the committed, the relentless. Your future isn't waiting for permission, it's waiting for your action. So what are you gonna do? Sit back and hope or rise and win? Every second you delay, someone else is becoming sharper, stronger, richer, faster. If you don't go all in, you'll be crushed by the ones who did. You want success? Then you better be ready to sacrifice. You better be ready to hurt, to fail, to rebuild, and still keep going. That's what separates champions from the crowd. This is your moment to draw the line. From this second forward, you live with purpose. You move with power. You think like a killer. Victory isn't a possibility. It's your obligation. Win at all costs because losing is no longer an option. Every man dreams of victory, but most men crumble at the sight of failure. They run, they retreat, they cry. But the truth is this: failure isn't the end, it's the beginning of who you're meant to become. You're either the man who folds under pressure or the one who sharpens his sword with every loss. Your pain, it's not punishment, it's preparation. People talk about success like it's a trophy you stumble across by accident. Like one day you wake up and you're rich, powerful, respected. But what they don't show you is the graveyard of failures buried underneath every so-called overnight success. They'll clap for you at the finish line, but they'll never tell you about the nights you were face down in the dirt. And that's the problem with most of you. You want the win, but not the wounds. You want the destination without crawling through hell to get there. You're addicted to ease. You've been told that struggle is optional. No, struggle is the entry fee. Failure is the tuition you pay to become someone worth remembering. You think because you failed once, that's it? You think a loss defines you? Then you've already lost. Because real men don't avoid failure, they hunt it. They seek it out like a blacksmith seeks fire. Because they understand this truth. Pressure creates precision. You don't sharpen a blade with a pillow, you grind it against stone, and life will grind you again and again until you either shatter or shine. It's not cruelty, it's calibration. The universe doesn't punish you with failure, it presents you with a test. Are you serious or are you soft? That's what every setback is asking, and most people answer by quitting. They think success is a staircase made of gold. No, it's a ladder made of broken rungs, rusted nails, and slippery steps. You climb it by falling, by bleeding, by tearing your hands open until your palms are scarred with lessons. Because every time you fall and get back up, you earn something, not a trophy, something better. You earn identity, you earn depth, you earn grit. You can't buy those things. You can't fake them. You can't talk them into existence. You can only bleed for them. And failure makes sure of it. You see, failure isn't your enemy, it's your mirror. It shows you exactly who you are when the applause stops, when the lights go out, and when the voices cheering turn to silence. That's the moment where the boys get filtered out from the men. And in that silence, if you listen, really listen, you'll hear the truth. You needed this. You needed to lose. You needed to be embarrassed. You needed to be humbled. Because ego is loud, but growth is silent. And growth only comes after collapse. It doesn't show up when you win. It shows up when everything falls apart and you're still standing, fists clenched, eyes locked on the next round. The reason failure is so feared is because it exposes. It strips you down. It shows you how unprepared you really are. But that's the point. That's the gift. When you fail, you don't just learn what you did wrong, you learn what you lack. You learn what must be built. That's how warriors are born, not through comfort, not through praise, but through raw confrontation with their own shortcomings. Failure doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means you've outgrown who you used to be. And if that doesn't inspire you, nothing will. People ask me, how do I become mentally strong? I say, start failing. Fall flat, embarrass yourself, lose, get rejected, get laughed at. Why? Because every time that happens and you keep moving, you reinforce your psyche with bulletproof resilience. The kind of strength that doesn't come from wins, it comes from surviving the losses. If you can fail, stare it in the face, and come back sharper, then you become dangerous. You become someone the world can't control. And trust me, when you reach that level, even your failures will scare people. I know what it feels like to hit the ground, to pour your soul into something and watch it crumble. But I also know this, you're still breathing. And that means you're still in the game. You haven't lost unless you quit. And if you never quit, then every failure just becomes a chapter in your comeback story. That's how kings are made, not in comfort, but in the chaos of trial and error. Real power is built in the ashes of failed attempts. So the next time life slaps you down, don't cry about it. Don't post a sad quote. Don't crawl to your friends looking for pity. Stand up, straighten your back and say, perfect, I needed that. Let it hurt, let it teach, let it mold you, because this is the game, and the game is brutal. But if you learn to play through failure, to stand tall when others fall, to grow when others shrink, you'll become something no one can stop. And that right there is why failure is not optional. It is essential. I remember being broke, not just financially, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I remember waking up in a room that felt like a prison, cold air, stale silence, a bed that hadn't been made in weeks because I didn't see the point. Days blurred together because there was no structure, no purpose, just a thick cloud of failure hanging over my life. I wasn't some weak coward. I was a man with ambition. But ambition without direction is like a car with no steering wheel. I had dreams, massive ones, but every attempt to chase them ended in collapse. Business failed, relationships failed, my body was weak, my mind was fogged, every move I made backfired. I wasn't living, I was surviving, barely. And in those moments, the world doesn't pat you on the back, it ignores you, it forgets you. People stop replying, they stop inviting, they stop checking in, you become invisible, and that silence is deafening. But here's the part no one talks about. That darkness is where you meet your real self. Not the version of you that pretends to have it together on social media, not the one that throws on a smile in public, the real one, the one that sits in silence with regret, the one who looks in the mirror and asks, what the hell happened to you? That version of me was born from failure. And it was in that space when I had absolutely nothing that I discovered everything. I found out what I was made of, not by winning, but by failing harder than I thought I could survive. And somehow I was still here. Broken, yes, but breathing. And that meant I had a chance. People assume success is built in moments of triumph, but real success is forged in those quiet, ugly, lonely chapters no one posts about. You think the winners you admire got there by skipping failure? No. They waded through oceans of it. They drowned in it. They got betrayed. They got rejected. They got laughed at. And every time it happened, they built another layer, a layer of toughness, a layer of insight, a layer of silence that whispered, keep going, you're not done. That's the process. It's not glamorous. It's not pretty, but it's necessary because failure doesn't break real men. It purifies them. I'll never forget the night I decided enough was enough. I was staring at the ceiling, broke, with zero momentum. I had every reason to give up, but something shifted, something primal. I whispered to myself, they don't get to write my story, I do. I stood up, not because I had a plan, but because I had resolve. I didn't know what tomorrow held, but I knew what I wouldn't tolerate anymore. And that's the spark failure gives you. When it's done properly, not when you use it as an excuse, but when you use it as a turning point, a catalyst, the slap in the face you didn't want but absolutely needed. You see, failure doesn't show up to destroy your life. It shows up to destroy your illusions. It removes the lies you've told yourself. It rips away the comfort blanket and shows you how far you drifted from your potential. That sting you feel after failing, that's truth. That's life saying, you're playing small, wake up. And if you're strong enough to hear it, not just emotionally, but intellectually, if you can extract the data, not just the pain, then you come back with weapons, not hope, weapons. A sharper mindset, a thicker skin, a new pace, a deeper level of clarity, and that makes you a threat. I look back at the man I used to be and I thank God he failed. Because without those losses, I never would have built the engine I have now. I never would have developed the obsession, the intensity, the standards. Failure gave me those things. And not just once, over and over again. Every level of life has a new devil. Every chapter has a new lesson. The only constant is failure. You either run from it or you shake its hand and say, let's get to work. That's the mentality. So if you're going through hell right now, if you're drowning in debt, self-doubt, betrayal, fatigue, understand something, this isn't the end of your story. It's the start of the real one because pressure doesn't crush diamonds, it creates them. And right now, every failure you're enduring is building the foundation for the most dominant version of you, but only if you refuse to quit, only if you turn that pain into discipline, that doubt into drive, and that loss into leverage. People will eventually see the victory, but they'll never understand the cost. And that's okay, because you'll know what it took. You'll know why you're unshakable. And you'll know deep in your soul that every failure along the way wasn't a curse. It was the blessing you didn't recognize at the time. That's why failure is essential, not just for growth, not just for toughness, but for transformation. You don't become a high-level man by getting it right the first time. You become one by getting it wrong again and still standing, still swinging, still believing. Because when you've been through the worst and you're still here, there's nothing left to fear and everything left to conquer. The scariest thing in life isn't failing. The scariest thing is waking up one day and realizing you never even tried, that you lived the same year 60 times and called it a life, that the dreams you once felt burning in your chest have faded into background noise because you let comfort sedate your ambition. And you'll lie to yourself telling stories about how it just wasn't the right time, how you were waiting for things to settle, how you were being realistic. But deep down, beneath all the excuses, is a silent scream of regret that only gets louder with age. And one day, it'll be deafening. Most men die at 25 and aren't buried until 75. That's the truth. They die the moment they trade risk for routine. The moment they stop taking swings because missing hurts more than not swinging at all. But here's the truth nobody wants to face. Avoiding failure doesn't protect you. It destroys you slowly. It strips you of your courage. It sterilizes your potential. It turns you into a spectator in a game you were born to play. And while you sit there trying to avoid the embarrassment of falling, time keeps moving, opportunities fade, energy declines, and before you know it, the door's shut, the chapter's closed. Not because you weren't capable, but because you chose comfort over conquest. Fear is a liar. It whispers that failure means you're not good enough. That one mistake proves you're not cut out for greatness, but that's just noise. Failure isn't proof of weakness. It's the evidence that you had the guts to try. The only people who never fail are the ones too scared to attempt anything real. You want a safe life? You'll get it. But it'll cost you everything that could have made life worth living. You'll be surrounded by safety nets, but haunted by the feeling that you left your destiny untouched. And that kind of pain, the pain of knowing you could have been more and chose not to, is far worse than the sting of any temporary setback. You think you have time. That's the most dangerous lie of all. You think tomorrow is guaranteed. You think the chances will always be there, but they won't. People die in their sleep. Accidents happen. Doors close. Markets shift. Health fades. Time doesn't pause for your procrastination. Every second you waste dodging failure is a second stolen from your greatness. And no one's going to save you. No mentor, no friend, no family member is going to drag you to the top. You either rise or you rot. You either act or you decay. That's the game. And the clock's always ticking. What terrifies me isn't falling. What terrifies me is looking back at the end and realizing I never pushed hard enough to see what I was truly capable of, that I played it small to keep my ego safe, that I spent my life guarding a reputation I hadn't even earned. You know how many men spend their prime years terrified of looking stupid? So they avoid risks, stay quiet, keep their head down, and slowly become invisible. They vanish from the world, not because they weren't talented, but because they lacked the fire to risk failure. They lived to be liked instead of respected. And by the time they realize what they've lost, it's already gone. Let me tell you something no one tells you early enough. You don't get second chances at your prime. Once this window closes, it's gone. The energy, the fire, the raw hunger, it doesn't last forever. You've got a limited time to channel it into something real. And every single failure you avoid now will show up later as a version of you you don't recognize. A bitter, beaten man who used to dream. That's the real cost. That's what's on the line. There's a reason failure is part of the process. It separates the delusional from the dedicated. Most people talk. They preach positivity. They wear confidence like a costume. But the second they fall, they vanish. They weren't about it. They were pretending. Real men stay. Real men rise. Real men use every loss as leverage, not because they're fearless, but because they're obsessed. They're too focused to be derailed, too purpose-driven to be stopped. They know failure isn't a dead end, it's a detour to refinement, a sharpening ground, a forge, because the man who has failed more than you has become more than you. Okay, if you're scared of failing, it means you're aiming too low. It means you're thinking too small. Your goals should make your heart race and your mind scream, what if this doesn't work? That's when you know it's big enough. That's when you know you're chasing something that can actually change your life. But if you keep running from the fall, you'll never experience the ride. And you'll never know what it feels like to look at the version of you that made it and say, I earned this. Every scar, every bruise, every sleepless night, it was all worth it. So go fail. Go take the hit. Go get embarrassed. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them count you out. Because one day, they'll see the man who refused to quit and realize they were watching greatness in real time. They'll remember the moment you stumbled, but more importantly, they'll remember the moment you stood back up, stronger, sharper, unshakable. That's what failure gives you, if you have the balls to embrace it. You're not running out of chances, you're running out of time. And failure, as painful as it feels, is the only thing standing between who you are and who you're meant to become. Stop avoiding it, start using it, because your legacy depends on it. Great, you want to win, then understand this. Failure isn't a curse, it's the toll you pay for entering the arena. The ones who never fail, they've never played. They've stood in the stands their whole lives shouting at the ones who bled. But you, if you failed, it means you stepped in. It means you had the courage to swing. The man in the arena bleeds, but he owns the right to speak. That's the game. That's where the crown is built, in the dirt, in the losses, in the moments when everything says give up and you refuse. You think champions were born immune to failure? Every legend has scars. Not one of them escaped defeat, but they didn't shrink. They didn't let the L define them. They used it like fuel. They sharpened their vision with every cut, strengthened their will with every blow. The difference between winners and the rest isn't talent. It's hunger. It's obsession. It's the refusal to stay down when life tries to bury you. The most dangerous man in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who's failed 1,000 times and still walks like he's already won. That's the man who's tasted defeat, digested it, and spit it back out like poison. And let me tell you something that will haunt the lazy forever. Every failure you fear is shaping someone else into a monster while you run. While you hide, someone else is taking that hit and becoming unbreakable. You can't buy grit. You can't shortcut hardship. You either earn your scars or you vanish from the battlefield pretending you were never called to fight. People think pain is punishment. They've been lied to. Pain is the gift. Pain wakes you up. It teaches you who you are when everything goes wrong. Anyone can smile when they're winning, but when you're broken, mocked, overlooked, and still get up, that's when you become something different. You were never meant to live soft. You weren't built for mediocrity. You weren't put on this earth to aim low, play safe, die unnoticed. Somewhere deep inside you, there's a storm that's been waiting to be unleashed. And that storm doesn't care about approval. It doesn't care about comfort. It only wants war with your limits. And war is messy. You lose, you get hit, you fall. That's part of becoming dangerous. That's how real power is forged. You want peace, build strength. You want strength, eat failure. Digest loss, get addicted to the grind. Because the truth is, no man who ever achieved anything real did it without crawling through hell to get there. You'll hear people say, maybe it's not for me. Weak words from weak minds. If you're breathing, it's for you. If you're alive, it's your responsibility to fight. Because guess what? Life is going to hit you anyway. Whether you chase greatness or hide in the shadows, pain's coming. So you might as well earn something with it. Might as well cash in your suffering for strength, your heartbreak for resilience, your failure for a future no one can take. Every time you break and rebuild, you're leveling up into someone who can't be moved. You want to know why failure is essential? Because without it, your wins mean nothing. A man who's never tasted defeat has never tasted true success. It's bland, it's hollow. But a man who's clawed his way back from the bottom, who's been laughed at, betrayed, counted out, and still kept going, when that man wins, it echoes, it's real, and it can't be taken from him. Failure is the universe asking you, how bad do you want it? And your response isn't words, it's work. It's getting back up without applause. It's building alone, bleeding in silence, and doing it again tomorrow. There's no hero without struggle. There's no glory without pain. You're not failing because you're cursed. You're failing because you're trying to do something bigger than yourself. And that's rare. That's uncommon. That's what separates lions from sheep. The sheep wants safety, comfort, certainty. The lion wants conquest. The lion knows he might starve, he might bleed, he might lose a battle, but the hunt continues. He doesn't stop until he eats. Be the lion. You don't get to quit. You don't get to sit this one out. Life doesn't care if you're tired. The clock's still ticking. The world's still spinning. The competition is still grinding. And the version of you that wins, the one living the life you dream about, he's already out there. Waiting, watching, asking when you'll man up and meet him. That version of you isn't handed anything. He's carved out of adversity. He's shaped by the hits you're afraid to take. And every time you fold, he fades. Every time you step up, he gets closer. This is your test. This is your moment. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being relentless. It's about waking up with fire in your chest and saying, I don't care what happened yesterday. I don't care who doubted me. I don't care how bad it hurts. I'm still coming. That mindset, unstoppable. That drive, untouchable. And the man who builds it by failing forward becomes someone no one can break, ever. So don't just face failure, chase it, invite it, dominate it. Let it mold you into someone the world can't ignore. Because failure isn't your enemy. It's your invitation to rise. Now is the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. You've been dancing with comfort, flirting with excuses, and giving failure the wrong definition. But from this second forward, failure is no longer your enemy. It is your ritual. It is your path to domination. You want to be great, then you better be ready to bleed for it. You want to build something that lasts, then be willing to be broken and rebuilt again and again until the version of you that stands is the one the world can't ignore. No more soft thinking, no more hiding behind fear. You've got one shot at life and the clock doesn't slow down for cowards. You're waiting for the right time. There is no right time. That fantasy doesn't exist. There's only now. And now is slipping through your hands like sand while you sit on dreams you never had the guts to chase. Get this through your head. There is no success without suffering. You think you'll wake up one day magically disciplined, motivated, wealthy, respected. You think results are gifted to the lazy? You think strength is handed out like candy? No. Every ounce of greatness you will ever achieve has to be taken by force. It must be earned through the kind of pain most people run from. You either suffer for your purpose or suffer because you never had one. This world doesn't care about your potential, only rewards execution. It doesn't applaud intentions, it rewards resilience, sacrifice, commitment. You think failure is a setback? No, failure is the raw material of champions. The more you fail, the more dangerous you become. Because every loss makes you colder. Every rejection builds armor. Every setback teaches you how to adapt. And the man who adapts, the man who evolves becomes something you can't. You want peace? Get strong. You want strength? Walk straight through the fire and let it melt your ego. Let it forge a man who doesn't flinch when the world throws punches. You are not here to be average. Deep down, you know that. You've always known that. But you've been scared to admit it. Because once you admit that you were made for more, the excuses don't work anymore. The blame doesn't fit. The comfort doesn't taste the same. You either rise or you rot. A man who won't face failure has already accepted defeat. Stop being the background noise to someone else's legacy, the empire you dream of, the power, the freedom, the impact. It's waiting, but it's not given. It's earned in blood, earned through embarrassment, setbacks, loneliness, humiliation, silence, and still showing up when no one believes anymore. You failed, good, then you're on track. You've fallen, excellent. That's how warriors are trained. You've been mocked, perfect. That means you're threatening mediocrity. Let them laugh, let them doubt, let them walk away. The world isn't meant to understand you while you're building. They only understand the finished product, the results, the headlines. You don't need validation, you need war with your own weakness. Get obsessed with becoming bulletproof. Get addicted to rising every time you fall, because the man who refuses to stay down, the man who keeps going regardless of pain, of shame, of failure, that man becomes unstoppable. And don't you dare let comfort seduce you again. Don't you dare betray your future for the lie of temporary peace. Comfort is the real killer. It whispers sweet nothings in your ear while it drains your fire. It hands you a pillow while it buries your purpose. Comfort is where dreams go to die, silently, unnoticed. But you are not meant to die unnoticed. You are not meant to leave this world untouched. You are a weapon being built in the darkness, and every failure is a hammer strike sharpening your edge. You think you're being punished? No, you're being prepared. So get up. Right now, not tomorrow, not after you feel better. Now, get up and move like your life depends on it, because it does. Every second wasted is fuel given to your future regret. And regret, that's the only pain that never heals. That's the only failure that's final. The failure of never trying. You will never forgive yourself for dying as a version of you that never got to see your real power. You will never find peace in a life that played it safe. He who risks nothing earns nothing. Remember that. Say it to yourself every time you feel like quitting. Say it until it burns. You were not chosen for weakness. You were not made to be broken by failure. You were made to use it, to weaponize it, to rise so many times that the world has no choice but to kneel. So go. Build, bleed, grind, sacrifice, outwork, outlast, outfight every version of you that settles. And when you fall again, and you will, you stand up again with eyes colder, heart harder, and fire even hotter. That is how champions are born. That is how legacies are carved. That is how failure becomes your fuel. Because in the end, it's not the man who avoids failure that wins. It's the one who walks through it like a storm, looks it in the eyes and says, "You made me."
Most of you are not actively building a future. You're not actively trying to build the dream life that you want to have. And then you expect it to just appear. Do you know why? Because when you were born in the middle, your parents put food in the fridge. It just appeared. The heating was just on because it was cold outside. We knew you never had that problem. That's why people at the bottom, we understand intricately. We understand this viscerally. We understand that nothing is going to come to us unless we go out there and get it ourselves. And once you have that, you have endless motivation for all things. That is extremely important. You have to train a fighter, a boxer. Do you want somebody who has poor nutrition and poor sleep, but endless fire inside of them, someone poor, to turn them into Muhammad Ali? Or do you want somebody with a good bed and good food, but lacks fire? Which one do you think is going to become a champion? Which boxers have become champion historically across time? Were they rich men? Were they from middle class incomes? Or were they from the ghetto? Were they from the bottom? It is all a test. It's all a test. You watch me because I perform flawlessly, and I'm not afraid to pay the price. You'd be up here with me if you were brave. When I say brave, and this is a genuine question, when is the last time you made a brave decision? When's the last time you took a brave route and did a brave thing? And I want you to actually take a few seconds and ask yourself that question and answer it. Bravery is a muscle like every other one, and it must be flexed and used to grow. Bravery is extremely important, and Bitcoin's a super easy answer. What's the worst that can happen? You lose your money? Do you think people like us were afraid to buy crypto once we worked it out? Once we were told about Bitcoin at $800, do you think we were afraid to buy it because we might lose money? Do you not understand? People like us don't give a fuck. That's how we end up here. Oh, you're lacking hunger. You're scared to be brave. You're lazy.
I don't want to put my $6,000 into Bitcoin. I might lose it.
Because you lack bravery. So, if you've done nothing brave that you can mention instantly off the top of your head, then what you need to do is something brave quickly. I'm not quitting. That's called handing the prize to somebody else. There are a certain number of prizes in the universe. There are stars that exist. They're just out there. There's prizes. So the people at the bottom have something that you don't have. It's hunger. You need to now, and this is the actionable, guys, you need to cultivate a lifestyle which is going to endlessly give you fire inside of your heart so that you never struggle with motivation ever again. You need to cultivate that with your social circle. So you need to be around motivated, hungry men. You need to cultivate it with the decisions you make. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing because I want to play video games. These people are losers. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion, fighting the Matrix out here by myself. More. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything, but kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly, completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it. The reason you lose is because you've been programmed to lose by all of your experiences throughout life. Winners are programmed, losers are programmed. I was programmed to be a winner in any scenario because I was raised in a very specific way. You were not. So we're going to start at the absolute beginning of why you've ended up a loser, because most of you never self-reflect. You're dummies who never look in the mirror and say, how did I end up where I am? Why am I the person I am? Why do I believe the things I believe? You don't self-analyze. So you don't understand how your own mind works, which means you don't understand why you are where you are. Because before you make a move on the chessboard, you need to analyze your position. By analyzing the board, the smartest thing you can do is to try and take your strengths and play them off against your weaknesses. So if you're poor, you have hunger and motivation, what you have to do is fix the things you don't have. You need to get around rich people. You need to get a good network of people you can trust who have a lot of money. You need to find a teacher who's prepared to teach you how money really works. That's the first thing. The second thing, and your biggest problem to fix, is your monumental laziness. And you have to understand that you innately are lazy. You innately lack hunger and fire. You're innately afraid. You're a coward. You lack the balls it takes in many scenarios to get rich or die trying. That's the truth. People in the ghetto already have the fire. Those brothers already have fire. Yeah. They're already prepared to do anything it takes. You need to ignite the fire inside of you. You need to make sure there's something inside of you that's going to get you motivated like a poor person's hunger, because you've never felt it before. Because the poor don't need motivation. The poor understand what it's like to be taken advantage of, and the poor understand what happens when you have no money and no food. You don't. You're not poor. You have food in your fridge.
As a man, there is no easy life. Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man, and you have 2 effective binary choices. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. There's 2 ways to suffer. You either suffer as becoming a somebody, or you suffer as a perpetual and forever nobody.
I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her, because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, this has happened to me, I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken, or, you lost a house, or broke, or whatever, that's when you did shit. When everything was fine, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, my wife left me, I'm devastated. I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to.
I think that as a man, your happiness comes from feeling respected over feeling loved. And the reason perhaps you're happy now is because you have more respect for yourself because of the decisions you're making. And you have self-respect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of men, even if they have self-respect, if nobody else respects them, they're struggling.
I have no interest in being happy. I wake up and say, how can I be proud of myself? What can I achieve that makes me proud of myself? How can I do things that make other people respect me and are proud of me? How do I have a day which I complete when I come home? The woman who's in my house says, wow, there's no man like you. How do I live a life so my children look at me and go, Dad's a superhero? How do I make my mother call me and say, I couldn't possibly be more proud of you? I have to live the exact same life regardless of how I feel. So for me, happiness is not a good indicator on how life should be lived.
But you need to sit down and look at your life and say, what's going to make me as motivated as possible? Is it developing an imagination to imagine my dream life? I'm sure it is. Is it having a social circle of people who are always trying to elevate? I'm sure it is. You need to then sit there, look at every facet of your life, analyze it one by one, and develop a lifestyle which is going to give you endless fire, because without it, you are going to lose. You are broken inside. You are lacking a fire inside of you, because once you get that fire, you become invincible. The fire inside of your heart makes you hard to kill, truthfully. It is the fire inside of your heart that makes you uncrushable. The kind of cockroach which survives a nuclear explosion. It is extremely important that you are never in a position where you lack motivation ever again. It is extremely important that you never f*** up an opportunity that is handed to you ever again. And these things are conscious choices you make by changing your lifestyle. There's nothing stopping you from winning besides yourself. I have now given you an actionable. The actionable is for you to design your life around getting endless motivation and fire in all ways. Everything you do needs to be deliberately geared and designed towards giving you motivation and making you feel hunger inside of yourself. Then you must take all of that fire, turn it into positive energy, and exude it out into the universe. If you want it to rain and you don't know what to do a rain dance. Perhaps the rain dance will not make the clouds cede. However, God will be happy that you're taking action as opposed to just sitting still, quietly waiting for rain to appear while being submissive and subservient. No, you have to go out there and do things. God wants to see you take care of what He has given you. Nobody continues to give gifts to the ungrateful. This is absolutely true about life. It's extremely important that you show God that you deserve it. Your discipline will shape your destiny, but it is extremely easy to be disciplined if all you've ever known is struggle. Guys, you as a man should be offended by the fact that my brother and I started miles below you and have surpassed you in every single human metric. That should bother you. But you should also sit there and go, why are they beating me? They started below me. They started the race way back there. And I was so lazy and so stupid, and I took life for granted, and I expected everything to be given to me, that these guys have managed to lap me and surpass me based purely on hunger and grit alone. They had no advantages. All they had was this innate desire to do anything it took. Now is the time. Every single day you need to wake up, take action, and get things done.
Happiness to me is a super interesting concept, because when people come to me and say, I'm not happy, I say, why should you be happy? They're like, what do you mean? It's like, who told you you should be happy all the time without working for it? Happiness is at the top of a mountain somewhere. You ain't been anywhere. You haven't even climbed it.
I think everybody on the planet has something to prove. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser, because you are absolutely not incorrect. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline, as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If He gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show Him the beauty of His own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are.
Nobody cares about men being happy. We talk about women being happy. We want children to be happy. If you look at a full-grown man on Christmas morning, he's smiling because his wife is smiling. He's smiling because his children are smiling. Nobody even buys him anything. What do they buy the dad? Socks? Nobody cares about men being happy. So why do you as a man care about you being happy? That's how you're going to fall into these traps. I'm a very content person. I live a fantastic life. I'm not miserable or depressed. I'm not sad ever. But I don't wake up and go, I want to be happy today. No, sir. I wake up and say, okay, things must be done. And those things will be completed regardless of how I feel. Regardless of how I feel. You can lock me in a dungeon for an unknown amount of time in Romania, and I will still complete as many push-ups as I can possibly do in the dark by myself. What else am I going to do? Sit there and be sad? Happy or sad? The push-ups must be done. It's called duty. It's called honor. It's called pride. So I'm asking you why you don't have them. You could be a genuine force for good in the world. And you know what's funny? The funniest thing, the most ironic thing about all of this is that if you don't prioritize happiness and you prioritize feeling proud of yourself, you end up happy by extension.
And that's why you've actually had a very bad start in life. You need, and this is very important, not only do you lack fire, you lack imagination. Because when you're poor, let me tell you something poor people do all the time. You imagine. My brother and I used to sit around and talk about what could be if only we managed to get it out. How it would feel to have this car. How it would feel to be in this place. How it would feel to be famous and internationally renowned. How it would feel to go to Saint-Tropez and live on a yacht. How it would feel to be able to fly on private planes. How it would feel to not have to worry about food anymore. My brother and I used to imagine for hours. We used to talk about it. We believed in this version of reality where we somehow made it. Not only do you lack motivation, you lack imagination. And that's why it's very important. You need to start believing you are the man, even if you're not yet. Before I was world champion, I knew I was going to be world champion. You have to believe these things. We had imagination and we had hunger and fire. You don't have those things. That's why you're fucked. Do you not understand? It doesn't matter how tired I get when I fight. I'm never actually tired because I am so desperate to hurt my opponent. I am more desperate to hurt him than I am tired. In all realms, forever. That is the hunger and motivation. That's why boxers start poor. That's why fighters are poor. There's a different mentality they're born with. They imagine being champion. They're prepared to do anything it takes. They have hunger and fire inside of them. There's no middle class champions. None. So it's extremely important you develop your imagination as well as your fire. And I'm saying this to you because there's a whole bunch of you who don't realize how badly you've failed. You need to start imagining what actual freedom is. You need to start seeing beyond the confines of your comfort. You need to start developing the hunger it's going to take for you to elevate to the highest possible echelons and stop being enslaved by your comfort, because that's what you're enslaved by. It's extremely important. Your future is the result of your daily actions. You're defined by what you do today. Lazy now, loser later. Get to work. Now, what have you done today which is going to positively affect the outcome of your future? When have you sat and imagined your dream life? When have you self-analyzed and self-reflected and tried to work out where you've gone wrong to end up such a mediocre specimen of man? Why can't you go down to the dealer and buy a brand new Lamborghini right now? Why not? Is it a lack of money? Is it a lack of, what is it? Is it only money? Are you afraid if you buy one you'll get robbed? What is stopping you? Have you even thought about any of these things? Has it even crossed your mind? It's extremely important, gentlemen, that you understand the chessboard.
Feel happy about doing them.
I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person.
The beauty of life as a man is to be great. So you have to sit here and ask yourself, do you want to be a happy loser that's insignificant? Nobody knows you exist. Women don't respect you. Men don't respect you. Nobody cares if you live or die, but you get to smile all the time. Or do you want to be one of the most important people on the planet with a little bit of stress?